What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. John Yaakov Gooderson, a singing psychiatrist. As someone who works in the field of mental health and sings about it, and also as a former Yeshiva Schools parent, I am honored to be your master of ceremonies for tonight. Welcome to our Holy Chinuch live stream campaign, a project of Yeshiva Schools. Yeshiva Schools of Pittsburgh is now in its 80th year. It is the oldest Jewish day school here in Pittsburgh and the first Achei Tamimim school outside of New York City. After 8 incredible decades, Yeshiva keeps on growing and innovating. One of these recent innovations is the creation of the Elaine Hashemi Wellness Center. And that is our focus for tonight. Wellness. Wellness for our students. Raindrops on roses and wellness in children. Please come and join in this program we're building, lifting kids' spirits so each one can sing. Finding their voice is a beautiful thing. Girls in blue jumpers with long-sleeved white blouses, boys wearing dress shirts, black hats, and dark trousers. 3-year-old boys with their new tzitz strings, each one a neshama, a pure, precious thing, holy chinuch, precious children, being who they are, giving our children these nurturing things. Wellness. Wellness, positive mental health, positive supportive parenting, counseling and teaching, kindness, love, the importance of resilience, making the world a more holy place, loving them as they are. But tonight is not only a night to educate you about wellness, because it's also a fundraiser. And our goal is to raise $600,000 that provides therapy for students, arts integration opportunities, unique sensory spaces, and a wellness-infused climate that helps students maximize their potential. It's a program that's in its growth phase, continuing to strive for excellence with your help. They tell me that we already have all the money. That's the good news. The better news is it's still in your pockets. The campaign still has 5 hours to go until midnight tonight. Every dollar you donate will be tripled thanks to our incredibly generous sponsors. So go to holychinuch.com to donate and spread the word and share the link with your friends. Kicking off this important evening, we'll start with a fascinating discussion between two leaders in this field. Rabbi Shimon Russell, LCSW, is a much sought-after speaker. He has presented many mental health-related topics throughout the United States and the world. He authored a recent book called Raising a Loving Family, which I know many of you already have. Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum is the CEO and the head of Yeshiva Schools, with over 30 years of experience in education. He created the Seligman Standards, which set benchmarks in Chumash and Talmud. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here and kicking things off. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Shimon Russell and Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum.
Here we are again.
Good evening to those who are gathered here, in person, our crowd. I just wanted to make you aware that we're currently at around $500,000 and you are a captive audience because no one is leaving until we hit at least 600,000. Welcome to those of you who are watching over live stream. We have a meaningful and a fun evening planned for you. We encourage you to continue viewing until the end of the program at 9:30. In 2 days is Yud Shvat, the yahrzeit of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the day that the Rebbe became the leader of Lubavitch. And I wanted to share just a brief thought from the previous Rebbe. It's known that the Rebbe Rashab said that just like there's an obligation to put on tefillin every single day, likewise, it's an obligation to think for half an hour about the well-being of your children. And I often wondered, what happens if you have 5 children? Are we supposed to spend 2.5 hours a day? What happens if you have 10 children? 5 hours a day? And I think the answer is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe wrote the Klal HaChinuch V'Hadracha, the guide for educators. And fascinatingly, the first point that he makes, he says the first thing is there needs to be bikoros atzmai. The adult, the mechanech, the educator, needs to be reflective about their own behavior. And that's the best way to influence the young for 2 reasons. First of all, if we work on ourselves, at the end of the process, we're in a better place. But second of all, we model the fact that human beings are always growing. We're always introspective and reflective, and we try to improve. So you know what? Maybe the advice of the Rebbe Rashab was spend a half hour a day thinking about ourselves. And then we'll be effective whether we have 1 child, 5 children, or 10 children. So that's just a thought from the Frierdiker Rebbe. Moving on to tonight's program. Rabbi Russell, it's been an amazing 4 days here in Pittsburgh. You've inspired, you've uplifted the parents, the teachers, the administration, and the community. I think people in Pittsburgh will remember this visit for a long time. But let's get to the first question. We both speak to parents and administrators and teachers. You much more than me. You talk to parents, they're in anguish and in pain if their child's not successful. Rightfully so. Tremendous amount of frustration. And at times, it's focused on the school, towards the school. The school's not doing enough to meet the needs of my child. And then you meet with teachers or administrators. And they too are frustrated. And they feel maligned by WhatsApp groups that share all sorts of information about what they said or they didn't say. Teaching today is a hazardous occupation. Extremely challenging. Rabbi Russell, how do we get parents and schools on the same page, working together for the benefit of our students?
Okay, Rabbi Rosenblum, I hope you don't mind if we jump right in, and I'd like to disagree with something. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, I hope you'll forgive me, but after 4 days, and you told me it was going to be a light schedule, and I spoke 11 times. I think it's the 11th time.
Yes.
This is light. What's heavy?
Next time, it's going to be a heavy schedule.
I'll have to discuss that with my wife. Look, there's a premise here. Let's be honest. Let's just be open with each other. Yeah?
Please.
There's a premise here that I'd like to address so that we could deepen, all of us, our understanding, our obligation, responsibility. We can get mature and healthy about this. Schools and parents will probably never be on the same page. This is a fundamental misunderstanding, in my humble opinion, this idea that we should all be on the same page. The reality is, a school always has an obligation for all the children in the school, for the entire school assembly, everybody. A parent has a primary responsibility for their child. To be on the same page, to actually be doing the same thing together, the chances are very slim. Parents have a primary responsibility to tune into the unique needs of their child. A school has both the responsibility to attend to the unique needs of every child, but it also has the encompassing responsibility of a system. And those two things can never be on the same page. Let's reframe the question, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to say like this. There's a word called shalom. Shalom, what is shalom? Shalom is not a lack of machlokas. Shalom is where different kaichas work together. I think the real question is, how do schools and parents who have different responsibilities find a way to work together for the better interest of the child, recognizing they each have different responsibilities? So I want to tell you something that's amazing that's happened in my career. I've watched many, many times, where when there was a dissonance between the school's needs and the child or the parent's needs, we talk to each other. Is that such a tremendous chiddush? We talk to each other and actually do something more than just trying to convince the school of my needs or the school trying to convince the parent of their needs, but we actually tune in where, you know what, I'm interested as a parent, what is the school's needs? I want to understand what's going on for you. And the school comes forward to the parent and says, I want to understand what's going on for you. What are the struggles? What are the difficulties you're having? I wonder if we would each reach out to each other and truly try to tune in first. So instead of me trying to impose as a parent what my needs are, what my beliefs are, what my problems and struggles, and try and convince you to understand what my needs are, wouldn't it be kind of amazing if you would reach forward and show one interest as the school of deeply and honestly trying to engage me as a parent to understand with safety what are my needs? And wouldn't it be rather remarkable if we as parents would come to the school and try and tune into, where are you struggling with this? I know you don't want to hurt my kid. Where are you struggling? What is the difficulty you're having? I think the first step is that we reach out to each other and try and tune into, what are you dealing with?
I actually want to thank you for framing it, because I think it's crucial in a conversation for both parties to understand sort of the rules of engagement.
Yes, exactly.
Otherwise, there's a misconception
Yeah.
that we're going to be on the same page.
When-
We both have to understand each other's perspective, but the conversation needs to happen, and we do need to move forward for the sake of our children.
Absolutely. And we need to respect the fact that the priorities, obligation, responsibility given by a Kodesh Baruch Hu to a parent is take care of your kid. Your child is your responsibility. That's what you have to, work very hard to protect the needs and to understand the needs and be able to articulate to the school, what are the needs of my child? But wouldn't it be easier if I didn't have to come in and yell that at you, try and force you to understand, with you trying to get the parent to understand what we're dealing with, Rabbi so-and-so. But if I would walk in and say, help me understand where you're struggling, because I understand you want to help my child. Where are you struggling with meeting the needs of my child? And that the school would turn around with compassion and say to a parent, help me understand where you're struggling.
Thank you.
That would be, to me, the first step. The
Okay.
first step.
First steps are good. From
My
there we can go
pleasure.
to another step.
Yes.
Moving on, Rabbi Russell, you speak internationally, passionately about building a relationship with the student and recognizing that it's our job as mechanchim, as educators, to extract, to connect the children with their heritage, bring out the best, recognize their attributes, their qualities, etc., etc. You also say that rules, structure, and discipline are necessary. Is it possible to enforce rules, structure, and discipline while maintaining a positive relationship with the students? Does that even work?
Rabbi Rosenblum, I'm not sure there's a more important question relevant to the wellness and health of our children than this question. The fact is, and I've spoken about this consistently, I wrote about it in the book, And to me, it's axiomatic to the health of our children. No children will grow up without a set of rules, structure, and discipline to guide them how to orient themselves to be successful citizens in this world. It's impossible. What I'm asking for is a shift in how we communicate in this generation those rules, structure, and discipline, as opposed to how it was done in previous generations. We grew up, you and I'm certain, where rules, structure, and discipline were probably with Svei Pech, like given to us, like, and that was it. It was done.
That didn't work?
It worked. You know what? In the generation we grew up with, it worked. But the world has changed. And the kind of things that we were subjected to as children, they don't work anymore. And they have to be modified. And if we're dishonest and we keep saying, no, that worked for me, why shouldn't it work for our children? Then we need to realize we are hurting our kids. The world changed. Whether we like it or not, the environment in which children are growing up today is different. In fact, so much so that I say to people all the time, and it sounds funny, but I mean it quite sincerely, any sentence an adult starts with the words, when I was a child, don't finish the sentence. Just don't finish it, because it's going to hurt someone. No one cares what happened when you were a child. My father caned me when I was a kid, right? Okay, I turned out okay. But guess what? That caning was a thoughtful, gentle almost process. It was with time. We were sent.
Not sure how that works.
We were sent to the room. We were sent to the room. I'm sure we were sent to the room for about 20 minutes. He gave us time to put on extra underwear, that's for sure, and a few magazines. The point was, he then came in and sat down calmly and gently. What did you do? What happened? You promised not to do it again. And we got 3 of the best, as they called it in England growing up. Never talked about again. We didn't hate him for it. You do that today with today's children, you go to jail. You go to jail. We have to come to terms with the fact the world changed. So what I'm talking about is 100% not stopping to impose rules, structure, and discipline. In the book, I write about how we're meant to develop children, the first stage, 0 to 2, with unconditional love. That means whatever they do, I don't care what they do. Whatever they do to wreck your life, to disturb your life, keep you up at night, mess up your house, spill things, break things, you laugh. You laugh. You take out the camera, you take pictures. As I always say, they'll be great for Sheva Brachas. You'll show it then. But you laugh. They're little kids, 0 to 2. Why is this important? Because if you do it properly, and if 0 to 2, and I'm not saying, by the way, we stop at 2 and then we become mean. I mean, 0 to 2 is only unconditional love. Then the child internalizes their neural pathways. Their brain understands that whatever they do, we unconditionally love them. So that when we start imposing rules, structure, and discipline later on, somehow it's incorporated in a child's psyche. It's understood that this is an extension of that love they've been programmed to experience, 0 to 2, and so it sets fine, it sets okay. The reality.
Can you model?
Well, no, I was going to say like this. The reality is, most children don't get this. Almost everyone reading the book, they chalish. They say, parents often say, why didn't I know this when I had children? In fact, we should all be buying the book for our children when they get married. So they understand when they get married from the outset what most of us didn't know, because we were in a transitional world where tough love was okay 25, 30 years ago. It isn't okay today, with rare exception.
The kid is tapping on his desk. Tap, tap, tap. Teacher says, stop tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Rules, structure, discipline with a positive relate. What would that look like?
So what it looks like is, let
Same
me
thing,
make the point first,
Okay.
so you understand it.
Yeah.
The point is like this. When we administer the rules, structure, and discipline, which are crucial for childhood development, we do it with kindness and softness. We approach the child sort of like this, like, Shefala, you realize these are the rules. I am so sorry, but here's the rules. And I feel bad for you. this is the consequence of breaking those rules, and I truly feel bad for you because I know you're not a bad kid. How can we help you not do this again? What can we do to connect with you, to help you so it doesn't repeat? That's a new face of chinuch in the world that we're living in today. In the old world, it was, you do that again? That doesn't work anymore. Perhaps it does for a very small group of people. But what we need to communicate to the kids is, of course, we have to stop you doing what you're doing. We have to help you work out how to accommodate the rules, structure, and discipline of the environment you live in. But we have to do it with an attitude that you're a good kid. You're not trying to create problems. You're not a bad person. You're a kid, for heaven's sakes. You're trying to grow up. You're trying to develop yourself, and it's going to take time. Maturity is delayed in this day and age. Kids are maturing later. We all know this. This is researched, and we know this is a reality, that children are maturing later in life. So we need to accommodate for that and talk to them in a way where I'm not angry with you. See, all chinuch in the old days was administered primarily, let's think about it, by withdrawing love and showing an angry face. So I would stop loving you, and I'd show you an angry face, and you would still too. You behave. That's how it was always done midor. Most kids today, that doesn't work. Sure, of course it works with a minute, with a minority of kids. But for most kids, that's not working very well anymore. On the other hand, to go and throw away rule, structure, and discipline, we create anarchy. We clearly can't do that. So we go to the child and we say, look, I'm so sorry. Or we go to the child tapping and go whisper in his ear, Shefala, you could stay here in the class, which I'd like you to do, or if you need a break, take a break. The thing is, you can't tap. And if you continue tapping, I'm really, really sorry. But there's going to be some sort of consequence. And even better than that is to tell him, I see you need to tap. Would you like to tap for like a minute? Go ahead, take it all out. Go tap. It's okay. I see you need to tap. Tap, tap, tap. But after a minute, I need to continue giving the class. Is that okay with you? We need to connect with the kids where they feel, I'm on your side. But the behaviors you're doing that maybe are interrupting life, or more importantly, that are not healthy for you to grow up as a healthy citizen in the world, which is our job, our primary job, is to help you grow up as a healthy citizen. Therefore, we're going to work with you to understand how to work with our rules, structure, and discipline. And if there's a consequence, there is one. And I want to repeat to you, if you get a consequence, I want to help you not have that happen again. Tell me what I can do. Tell me how we can help so that this won't repeat. And if you can't do it in the classroom, do it after class. Most of these conversations don't belong in the classroom, but they certainly do belong in recess, and they do belong outside the class, where we go to the child, not with anger, not with intimidation, but we go with him with accommodation, with kindness and love to tune in, but making it very clear, this can't continue. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It's going to take time for families, parents, teachers to keep on working on this, improving.
Look,
because if you have 25, 30 students in your classroom, and there's a lot of things going on at the same time, you can't necessarily have that individual conversation with the kid who's tapping and this, that. So the rules, the klolem are 100%. The question is the implementation.
That's right.
Which we needed. That conversation needs to continue.
That would take time.
And how to implement that in the current circumstance in our school system.
That's true. But as I've said, and I've said this many, many times, the primary goal that we're trying to achieve with children is to help them grow up as healthy citizens of this world, as healthy young Jewish people, able to accomplish living a healthy life. That has to be the primary responsibility. That's what I understood you're trying to achieve with the wellness program, and that's why I came.
Thank you for coming. And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. And at this point, our conversation, we're going to take a small break.
Already?
Hand it back to our MC, Yaakov Gutterson.
We just started.
Just warming up, but we'll be back in around 5-7 minutes.
Okay.
That was wonderful, Rabbi.
Pleasure.
Rabbi Russell.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much. Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. hot off the press right here. I got it. We are now over 500,000. We're at $505,869. Hooray! Breaking news. I want to thank you to our sponsors, because every dollar you give will be tripled, absolutely tripled. Our sponsors, the Mars and Hashimi families, COL Live, Jennifer Reed, and Zev and Liba Rudolph. Thank you so much. We're getting close. Don't lose your energy. We just have a few hours left. And now, to announce a singer coming onto the Jewish scene, a new sensation, more and more, Tali, yes. And here he is. You say yes, and I say no. You say yes.
Dr. Goodison, ladies and gentlemen. Got to bring him up for a duet sometime tonight. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tali, yes. My last name is spelled Y-E-S-S. Second S is silent. I come from a long line of yeses, but the story is that the original name started with my great-grandfather in Lodz, Poland, who had a name like Yaish or Yaich or something we couldn't pronounce. He eventually emigrated to England, and when the immigration officer couldn't figure out how to spell it, he just wrote down Y-E-S-S and said, here, welcome to the West. Let's give a big round of applause also for Yeli on the soundboard tonight, who's doing an excellent job. Thank you. So a lot of people know me because I'm a second-generation Jewish musician. My father is Moshe Yes, of blessed memory, and thank you. That's kind of how a few doors opened up for me in my life. But the real rock star in my family was my mother, who in Beis Rivka of Montreal taught for 30 years and taught teachers how to teach. Thank you. So if there's somebody here tonight that can be a testament to the importance of Jewish education and Jewish education done right, it's myself. I've seen many teachers check out at 5 o'clock. And then there's teachers like my mother, or a few select others, that's when their work really starts. We start going home and planning for the next day and taking a personal interest in every one of your students. And I believe that's what we're trying to do tonight here. So, being as this is a fundraiser, it's really an investment in our next generation. We'll start off tonight with a song about Tzedakah. Today she was sitting on the street, sorrow in her eyes, tin can at her feet, holes in her stockings and holes in her shoes. She's that old beggar woman, no stranger to bad news. I reached in my pocket to give a bill or two. In my heart I was trying to think what I could do. She thanked me for the money. I turned to walk away, but I waited for a moment and she began to say, God loves the widow and the orphan and the blind, the old and the needy who haven't got a dime. God loves the sickly and his eyes are all the same. And God will love you too, you just call upon his name. I don't know where she came from, I don't know her at all, but the wrinkles on her face, they kind of tell it all. So reach in your pocket and give a bill or two, and you can thank God in heaven that the beggar isn't you. God loves the widow and the orphan and the blind, the old and the needy who haven't got a dime. God loves the sickly and his eyes are all the same. And God will love you too, you just call upon his name. God loves the widow and the orphan and the blind, the old and the needy who haven't got a dime. God loves the sickly, and his eyes are all the same. And God will love you too. You just call upon his name. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. That was an old number that my father wrote when he was back in the Megama days, in the early 80s, late 70s. And it's an interesting segue because God really does us all, love all of us the same. Whether you're the kid in class that really does very well and aces every Chumash test and Gemara test, and whether you're the kid that was terrible at Gemara like me, had to try much later in life. We all have our own kind of derech in life. And Hashem has a plan for each and every one of us. And it's important from a young age that a kid understands that just because he's a little different, it doesn't make a difference. It's not what makes him Jewish. What makes him Jewish is something that's very deep inside of you. And about 8 years ago, I moved to Muncie, the second holiest place in the world after the Temple Mount. Thank you. And I was brought up with a mother with Southern values that said you say hello to people, you say good Shabbos when you greet them, you don't look at your phone or cross the street and try to avoid human contact. And one day I'm walking down the streets of Muncie on an Erev Shabbos going to a shir by Y.Y. Jacobson. And there's long blocks in Muncie. You might wait 10 minutes before you see the guy from the distance up right in front of you. This guy looked much holier than me. But I was so excited to give him a big, juicy good Shabbos that when I got up to him, I said, "Good Shabbos!" He looked at me like, "What are you, from Mars?" You were saying good Shabbos to me. He didn't say it, but you could read it in the thought bubbles over his head. And I wanted to give him a piece of my mind, but I grew up a little different. And I said, instead, I'm going to write a song about the experience and sing it over and over again. And the song is called Just Like You. And it goes a little something like this. It actually goes exactly like this. I wrote the song. We pass each other on Saturdays. You look at me and I look at you. But I can never find the courage to say, you know I'm also a Jew. And know I look different in every way. I believe in God just like you. So please don't judge me today for the things that I've yet to do. Why can't you say good Shabbos to me? Am I really that different from you? I'm not asking for eternity, no, just a simple smile would do. Just a simple smile would do. Just a simple smile would do. Is it the clothes that I'm in? Or the music that I listen to? Is it my accent or the color of my skin? Is that why I'm different from you? Sometimes I feel like an outsider looking in at the things that we do as Jews. The clothes you wear and the hair on your chin, that's not what makes you a Jew. Why can't you say good Shabbos to me? Am I really that different from you? I'm not asking for eternity, no, just a simple smile would do. Just a simple smile would do. Thank you, thank you. So I recently got remarried about 2 years ago, and when I came to my mother-in-law's house for Pesach, I saw this beautiful plaque that she had engraved on glass, I believe. And it's very famous Jewish song, but words from a very famous Jewish song by Baruch Levine, which I think is very meaningful for tonight, and it's what we're really all here about. V'zakeini legadel bonim uvnei vonim chachomim unevoinim Oy havei Hashem yirei Eloki Anshe yemes zera kodesh b'Hashem dveikim V'zakeini legadel bonim uvnei bonim chachomim unevoinim Oy havei Hashem yirei Elokim Anshe yemes zera kodesh b'Hashem dveikim Sing it if you know it. Umirim so elam atirov masim toivim Uvachol meleches avodas aboire Umirim so elam atirov masim toivim Uvachol meleches avodas aboire One more time. Umirim so elam atirov masim toivim Uvachol meleches avodas aboire Umirim so elam atirov masim toivim Uvechol meleches avodas aboire V'zakeini legadel bonim uvnei vonim chachomim unevoinim Oy havei Hashem yirei Elokim Anshe yemes zera kodesh b'Hashem dveikim Umirim so elam atirov masim toivim Uvechol meleches avodas aboire Umirim so elam atirov masim toivim Uvechol meleches avodas aboire Thank you so much. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back for another set in a little bit. Don't go anywhere, everybody. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Tali. Yes. Fantastic. Beautiful. Listening to him is like, I feel like he's in our living room. It's just such a warm, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Remember, the second yes is silent. Okay, don't forget that. If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum. You know, when Tevye the milkman sings that in Fiddler on the Roof, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum if I were a wealthy man. Is that what you would do? Would you just all day long just biddy biddy bum? And what is biddy biddy bum? I don't know what biddy biddy bum is. We take all our resources, we take our work, our education, everything that's led, and then we help other people. Then we're connected to them. And that's what this tonight is all about. holychinuch.com. Please give. We're now up to 85%. We're getting closer and closer. Please contact your friends, connect, and give. Every dollar you give will be tripled. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we turn to Rabbi Shimon Russell, Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum, as they continue their discussion of wellness in the Jewish schools.
Yaakov, before I get back to actually the discussion with Rabbi Russell, I was thinking to myself, we can make this quite easy. If 500 people gave $50 Even if you gave already today, if just 500 people gave $50 each right now, sitting here, if you're watching, I think that's $25,000. I went to Yeshiva Schools. If 1,000 people give $50 right now, you could spread it out over the year. We'd raise $50,000 and we'd be done with this. We can get home earlier.
Absolutely. Let's go for it. Thank you. Thank you.
Rabbi Russell, once again, it's an honor to share this discussion with you.
It's mutual.
I've read most of your book, and I suggest that everybody reads this book, maybe a couple of times. I want to point you to a paragraph that actually moved me as I reflected on the years that I taught and was a principal. Now I have to worry about raising funds. And it goes like this. First of all, you talk about the teachers having the most important job in Klal Yisrael and understand how they're paid the least and criticized the most. But then you talk about pushing children beyond their natural abilities. And these children come to believe that they're somehow deficient. And the feedback that they get only adds to their pain. If you just try harder, focus more, do this, do that, what happens is that any love of Torah is overshadowed by judgment and pain. When I read that, I said, wow. I said wow as a parent, and I said wow as a teacher. You know, our teachers care deeply about their students. As parents, we care deeply about our children. I was thinking to myself, even a well-meaning teacher or parent who really cares and has built a relationship with a child can unknowingly cause tremendous pain. That affected me. So my first question is, can you elaborate on that? And second of all, how does that drive, how do we reconcile that with the words of Chazal, for instance, Yagaiti v'loy matzasi al tamen? I've told my children, I've told my students, just got to try a little harder. What about ha'adam nimshach achar poloisav? The Chinuch says you just got to do once and twice and 3 times, and then you get it right. How do we reconcile the statement in this powerful statement in your book and the words of Chazal? And what advice do you have as teachers and parents?
Well, first of all, I want to be very clear. Thank you for pointing out my perspective that I look at mechanchim, at teachers, as the absolute top rung of Klal Yisrael, the people doing the most important job for Klal Yisrael. And in truth, I think you'll agree with me that before anyone criticizes a teacher or a Rebbe, go teach. Right. Go be a Rebbe. Go try it out and see what it feels like.
It will change your perspective.
Change your perspective,
and you've
no
told
question.
us to me countless times.
Absolutely. It will change your perspective. It is a tremendously challenging job. It's a subtle nakuda, and I'd like to just share 2 words. You see, there's a word to expectations, to have expectations of a child that's beyond the child's natural ability. What do we think that does to the internal workings of a child? And what we don't consider, and perhaps in this generation it's more acute, it could well be, and I have a lot of reasons why I believe that to be the case. However, when you ask of a person to do something that's beyond their capacity, their natural ability, the child discovers that they feel like they can't do it. The projection they have on their Rebbe, teacher, school, life, yeshiva, God, is that I'm failing. I'm a failure. I'm deficient. Do that enough times, and you condition a child into doing the easiest way to stop you doing it, give up. There's a huge world of difference between having expectations, which I believe is old school, and giving children encouragement to expand themselves with the full awareness that I'm encouraging you to simply do what you can to see how you can expand yourself. See how you can push yourself. To encourage them is different than creating expectation that you should be able to do it. Now I want to address the Chazals. It's true, the Rishonim say, for example, Adam nifel kfi pulosov. A person becomes, the Chinuch says it very clearly, a person can become that which they keep doing and doing and doing, they can become it. But guess what? That's when it's their choice. Adam nifel kfi pulosov, when it's his pu'ulas that he chooses. If I decide that I'm going to go and learn, a new language, I decided I want to do that. For whatever reason, something inside me said, I got to do this. Then yes, Adam nifel kfi pulosov, because it's something I want. But if I haven't yet determined I want this, and someone else is trying to impose upon me the system of Adam nifel kfi pulosov, it will backfire. And it's the same thing, Yogat Matzati, right? All time. If I choose to work hard because something inspired me to do it, then Yogata Matzata Altamin. Don't believe him, because he's going to do it, and he's going to work at it, and he will achieve it, because he wants it. Actually, the yesod of all chinuch is this. It's, the Mesilas Yesharim says in his introduction, Bia ma chayvus adam ba'olamai. There's a vav on the end. The explanation of what is the chayv of a person in his world. Why doesn't it say Bia chayvus ma chayvus adam ba'olam? What is the chayv of a man in the world? How come it says olamai? What's that vav doing on the end? You know what that vav is? That vav is for the people who were zeicha to have the chinuch from their parents and their schools of chanoichana al pi dakoi, the same vav that they were taught. It's about you. Find out what you're special in, and I'm going to encourage you to be the person you can be. Do you understand? Then it's Bia Machovas Adam Bailamai. It's in his world. It's what you see. The point is, we always should be encouraging children to expand themselves, explore, be curious about your capacity, what you're capable of achieving. It's a whole different message than saying, I expect you to do it. When you have expectations, honestly, in this generation, for most of the children, again, for some of the children, it will work. But the vast majority, and it's very difficult to know who's who, right? For the vast majority of the children, laying expectations on them that's beyond their natural ability is in all likelihood going to shut them down and make them feel like a failure because they can't do it. It doesn't resonate inside as something I feel capable of. Telling a child that do what you're capable of, and let's encourage you to stretch yourself, see what you can do. And if you can't, no big deal. And if you can, that's great. That's not an expectation. That's encouraging them to expand. It's a different language. It's a language of safety. It's a language that creates curiosity. It's a language that's kind. It's attuned. And I believe that kind of language encourages our children to be willing to push themselves and willing to expand. They got nothing to lose. That's really what it is. If it's an expectation, you have everything to lose because now I failed. But if it's encouraging them, you got nothing to lose.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
My pleasure.
Rabbi Russell, in your book, you have a section on schooling and education.
Yeah.
And you spent 4 days in Pittsburgh. You've met our students. You spent a couple hours with our teachers.
Yeah.
Many hours with myself, with our administrators.
Wonderful hours, if I may say.
Thank you.
Wonderful hours.
Thank you.
You have a beautiful community here.
Thank you. What ideas would you have moving forward, and for Pittsburgh, but really for the broader community? Because this chapter in the book is recommendations to the broader community. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that book, and for implementing. What would be the next steps that you would suggest we work on here and other schools in implementing your approach to promote health and wellness in the schools?
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to use this opportunity. You mentioned that chapter 6. Someone asked me after we'd finished the book if I had any regrets. And as a matter of fact, afterwards I did, and I regretted that before the chapter on schooling and education, I didn't put like a disclaimer. I wish I'd put it there. A sort of disclaimer that said, it's impossible that any ideas I put in this chapter could possibly apply to all communities, to all schools, to all the different array of frum Jewish schools in the world, in every different culture and every different environment. I wish I'd put that disclaimer in there. I didn't, and I regret it. And I appreciate, when you ask me the question, what would I think might be applicable here, perhaps to other schools, and perhaps not to other schools. Is that fair? I just want to be very clear. Otherwise, it's very, very misleading.
Yes.
I regret I didn't put it in there. I'll be honest. I hope the people will understand that these were broad ideas. Take it to your Rabbanim. Take it to your... Yeah, exactly. That's how I thought I'd written it. And then afterwards, I realized that perhaps there were people who didn't see it that way. It's kind of unfortunate. So with that caveat, with that introduction, so here's the things. There are schools that have done this already. There are schools that are doing this already. There are schools who haven't done it yet. The first step, I believe, and it's in line with the question we just addressed, is to move the focus of a teacher or Rebbe's attention to the class to the center of the class. It is a natural and it's a historical tendency to be able to sort of teach to the higher part of the class in the hope that everyone will kind of work hard to get there. In this world, I don't believe that's working anymore. I think if we're really truthfully honest, all that's doing is alienating too many of the kids in the class who feel like failures. Worse still, it's encouraging the enormous growth of the sort of resource rooms in schools that cost a fortune simply because many of the kids are experiencing school in a way that it's just a little too hard for them. So the first suggestion I made, and again, schools are doing this already. I'm not saying they're all not, some are, but we need to be attentive and thoughtful about moving to the center, that we have an umbrella that embraces most of the kids in the class. I think what it'll do is shrink the resource room tremendously, which will be a tremendous saving. And then what we can do is offer a sort of an advanced track resource room by the choice of the children in the class. If you really feel you want something advanced because the middle is a little too low for them and they feel they're capable of pushing more, why don't we have those kids go out of the class, take a fair, by choice, if you want to, and go out for an hour or two a day to an advanced track learning something else, instead of having this huge preponderance of kids going out to have resource room to try and help them keep up with the kids who are more advanced in the first place. So that's one change I would make and offer a sort of advanced track, if that would be doable. Number two, this I'm pushing worldwide. I think it's crucial. I have teachers around me, all sorts of people I know who are trying it out and they find it amazing. Look, Mesilas Yesharim says again, Ika Metzias ha'odom ba'olam hazeh. What is our Metzias in this world? Shloisha dvarim, three things. La'asis mitzvahs, do mitzvahs. La'avoid, avodas Hashem. And the last one most people have no clue of, la'amud b'nisayon. Be able to stand up to difficulties, withstand the trials and tribulations of life. Generally speaking, as a community, we're good at mitzvahs. We're pretty good at avodah. We turn up to shul, we daven, we do avodas Hashem. We're not that great at lamud b'nisayon. And I think our children desperately need a culture included and incorporated in their chinuch from early on, probably 4th grade and up, where once a week they have a class, a Lamed B'Nisoyan class. That's the vision I would love to see in Klal Yisrael. A Lamed B'Nisoyan class, an age-appropriate, open conversation once a week with the children, where we help them process how they deal with the age-appropriate problems in life. And I truly believe if we had that, by the time they get older and towards puberty, by the time they become teenagers and they have to deal with this world and the internet and all sorts of problems in the world, we will have created a foundation of an ethic within our value system where, by the way, struggling is not a bad thing. That's why we're here. That's part of our metzias in this world, is to struggle. Let's wake up and realize it's not shameful to struggle. It's why you're here in the first place. That's what we're here for. And it's through the struggles, the Midrashim will tell us that that's how we grow. It's through the nisyonos we become who we are. We actualize ourselves. Instead of feeling shamed and embarrassed because we're struggling, I think we need to make it part of mainstream chinuch, and it would support children wonderfully in life if we could communicate to them, age appropriate, that struggling with different issues developmentally is 100% normal. Hashem put you in this world for this reason, and you don't have to be afraid or ashamed to talk about it. I wish we could put that in the culture of all school systems worldwide. I think it would be a game changer for Klal Yisrael, for all of us, if we could do that. Imagine how we would feel as adults if we went through a system where part of our chinuch, our education, was to feel validated and healthy about struggling, and that's part of why we're here. Instead of feeling like embarrassed and ashamed to share that we're struggling with different things in life, and as if life was meant to be perfect. It wasn't. Hashem
Maybe
made
the
it that
next
way.
project for you is the Lamad B'Nisayan.
Thank you. Thank you. It really is. I think that we've let them down. We've let down our children, and we've let ourselves down by not incorporating the fact that everybody struggles. For heaven's sakes, we all struggle. But guess what? It's through our struggles we become who we are. It's funny, we all know that. We stick it on a fridge magnet, but we don't teach it to our kids. It doesn't make sense why it's not incorporated. If we do mitzvahs and we do avodah, let's do Lamed B'Nisayan. I think that would be, honest, a game changer in Klal Yisrael. If we would, once a week, let's just open conversation. No grades, no right or wrong, just conversation.
What about homework?
Now, and I'll tell you one last thing. This is probably, for me, going to be where it's going to, I'm going to take myself in the next decade of my work, is to bring safety into the relationships between people, especially in the life of children. And what I'm talking about is the neuroscience of polyvagal safety, of teaching people how to feel grounded and safe. There is too much in our lives of instantly feeling afraid, running away, putting up walls, protecting ourselves in a world where we're protecting ourselves, in a world where I have to wear an armor of defense so I can't be connected, in a world where I'm not connected, where I don't feel safe to connect and safe to be vulnerable. Well, how can I really be joyful? How can I really be curious? How can I really be benevolent? I think we have to make, a positive effort at understanding, creating safety, where a child can say how they feel, and we're going to smile right back at them when they reveal it, and we're not going to be like, really? That's what you're doing? Oh, no. Because if they think that's how we're going to respond, they're not going to tell us. And if they're not going to tell us, we can't help them. So what exactly are we doing? How exactly are we helping them if the way we interact with them makes them feel afraid to be honest? It's the same thing with parents. If we don't make parents safe to walk into a school and sit down with the principal and say, look, we have some serious problems going on. We didn't ask for it. We didn't go to I know you have Shop. We have ShopRite in New Jersey. What do you have here? Piggly Wiggly. What do you have here? I know what it's called.
Giant Eagle.
Giant Eagle. Great. No one goes to Giant Eagle to get the ADD cornflakes and give them to their kids to make them crazy. There's no such. I never saw that yet. And secretly they're eating them to make their kids nuts.
If I could add that we also have to make sure that the teachers feel safe, and the administrators, and the head of school.
Yes, well, that's true. We have to, as a Jewish nation, we have to be benevolent. We have to live a life. We learn hashkafas HaTorah about being kind to each other, and then we all feel protective, and we won't do it. We have to create safety. The word safety, I believe, has to become part of the ethos of how we as the Jewish nation live. Parents need to feel safe to go into a school and be honest and not feel they're going to be blamed or shamed or the kid be thrown out. They'll be embraced and respected by saying we have this problem. Schools need to be honest and feel safe to go to a parent and say, we don't know how to do this with your child. We want to, but we don't know how. We don't have the resources. We're not sure what to do. And we're embarrassed and we're ashamed of ourselves that we don't know how to embrace your child. We want to. We have to get safety where everyone can talk to each other in an honest and caring way, instead of everyone being terrified of the other side of what's going to happen. We're playing this awful emotional ping pong game with each other where we're all like feeling self-protective and it's who's going to win. You know who's going to win? No one. Everyone's going to lose. If we can, I really, honestly, the biggest thing I'd like to see the change out of this book is about creating safety. And that's part of the resilience, right? Safe, secure, seen, and soothed. Safety is the first one. We have to create safety between each other so that we can talk. Listen, you and I have to feel safe right now, that we can sit here and have a conversation and not be embarrassed and worried that people are going to say, these people are crazy.
So far, so good.
So far, so good? Thank you. Okay.
On behalf of the Pittsburgh community, I'd like to thank you from the depth of our hearts for spending this time here in Pittsburgh and presenting here tonight and this conversation. There's more to come, but I'm finished.
Okay.
Hashem should bless you, bench you and your wife with Arichas Yamim.
Thank you.
You should continue to spread the message, and we should continue to collaborate on behalf of our children.
Thank you, and you should continue doing the amazing work, this incredible work. That's what drew us here, the fact that you're putting such an unbelievable dogish on wholesome healthiness, creating healthy environment for children. This is it. This is our mandate. It's a God-given mandate, and I admire you so much for what you're doing here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So I want to mention that this is a Hakel event tonight.
Wellness is not an additional aspect tacked onto a long list of things a school should be providing. It's what a school should be made up of. Schools that view everything through a lens of wellness create happier, healthier students. Wellness here at Yeshiva, the way I see it, is a student-centered approach to be able to uphold rules, structure, discipline, and a sense of accomplished learning through a student-centered lens. Wellness doesn't necessarily mean doing whatever the student feels is best for them at any given moment. Instead, we're trying to understand, as best as we can, where a student is coming from and what their needs are, and then trying to incorporate those needs into our rules and structure. It's about centering the student in everything we do.
School's not just about academics. When my students sit down in the class every day, they bring their emotional and psychological needs. And if those needs aren't being met, there's no academics to talk about. We see our class as a whole, but it's really made up of individual students who need to be cared for in different ways. Students might be bringing anxiety, frustrations, or a desire to be challenged. Children want to be successful, so if they're having a hard time, there's a reason. You're not helping them if you assume they just don't care. If you talk to them, you'll be able to help.
I really like the GRIP framework we introduced this year, which focuses on the school values: giving, respect, responsibility, integrity, and perseverance. This spans 1st through 12th grades, and that consistency will really affect the culture of the whole school, how everyone treats each other and goes about their learning. These tools and core values are so important to helping the students feel successful and have a sense of personal responsibility for that success and their ability to thrive in school.
When we think of school, we tend to think of learning and academic excellence, but it's really so much more than that. For students, school is a place they come to feel friendship and care. They have opportunities to excel in different ways through creativity or by positively navigating a challenging interaction. There are so many different kinds of learning and growing experiences, not just academic ones. School is about giving our students tools to navigate life and relationships, and our focus on wellness makes that possible.
The goal of any school is to educate in a way that creates happy children, happy teenagers, and happy adults. And the way that we can do that is by focusing on wellness. If you're only going to be focusing on academics or religious connection without understanding what's really bothering the child, then you're trying to paddle up the river without an oar. As we learn more about wellness and mental health, it's clear that issues could start cropping up at early ages, in preschool even. So if they're tended to properly while the student is young, then we give them the tools to persevere and be resilient. And that's what I like to focus on.
One of my big mottos this year as an administrator is be curious. Take the time to dig a little deeper, to truly understand what's going on in the student's world, and with compassion and student buy-in, lay the groundwork for student accountability and a plan moving forward. Although the process is a lot of hard work, the results are smoother because they take student need into account. When you're working through this lens, you can't really go wrong.
As a teacher, it's comforting to know that if I have a concern or question, there's a mental health professional that I can talk to. When your students are in a good mental space, they can come in and hear what you're saying. They can absorb new ideas, they can concentrate and can practice new skills. If their mind is somewhere else and struggling, then no learning will be accomplished. My goals will have to change to much more basic ones. Are they comfortable? Are they able to get through the day? Our school understands this and understands that children are more than just students. Our job is to help them succeed, and that has to start with mental well-being.
Having a wellness division definitely takes the pressure off the teachers because we don't have to guess what's the right direction. We're people who can guide not just the students, but the parents and the teachers. This approach lets us use all the tools available. When there's a class where even one student is struggling, it affects everything and everyone. It can be very overwhelming. But when our teachers and the wellness vision are fully integrated, they'll speak the same language, operate from the same understanding, which allows us to help those students. And that'll be beneficial not only for the student, but for the class and even the whole school.
My goal is for my students to know that I care about them as individuals. If there's something they want to tell me, I'm interested. If there's something they want to confide in me, I'm a listening ear. As a mechaneches, I really try to emphasize that I'm always here to help. Once I understood that as my role, I was able to work on it even more. And it's very empowering to know what's working in and out of your classroom. It's a great reminder that wellness impacts teaching on a level that you can't even really fathom.
Creating a culture is very important. And since we've started to do that at Yeshiva, I've brought a number of different things into my own classroom because of it. To develop happy children, I bring jokes and humor into my lessons as much as possible. Because when you learn things in an environment where you feel happy and comfortable to be yourself, your learning is going to be much more long-lasting and enjoyable. For a long time, there was a real stigma towards discussing mental health and wellness. Now, we're more open to those conversations. There's definitely been a big shift in awareness. Because we as a school are focusing on it, the community as a whole is jumping on board. The more people that are talking about it, or that are willing to get help to support their child in every area, the better off everyone is going to be.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. You along the road must have a code that you can live by. Teach your children well. Teachers are my heroes. I don't know who your heroes are, but teachers are definitely my heroes my entire life. I have so much respect for them, what they do. There's no, when you're asked a security question, one of the security questions is, who was your first grade teacher? There's a reason for that. It's because we don't forget who our first grade teacher is or was. Teachers. Let's give a round of applause for teachers so dedicated to our students. We are now up to 522,000, getting closer and closer. That's 87%. That's what I say. I did not go to Yeshiva Schools, Rabbi Rosenblum, and my mathematics was not great, but they told me it was 87%. holychinuch.com. Please go there. Every dollar will indeed be tripled. And again, our thanks to the sponsors, the Mars and Hashimi families, COL Live, Jennifer Reed, Zev, and Liba Rudolph. If I could put time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day. But we can't put time in a bottle. It is now, what time is it? 8:10, 10 minutes after 8. So indeed, we have 3 hours and 50 minutes or so to get to the next $88,000. Please contact your friends. If you're on the live stream, you see the link right there, holychinuch.com. And please, let's go for the last 3 hours and 50 minutes. Now, Rabbi Russell will be returning to the stage, now with his wife, Mrs. Yocheved Russell, for a parenting panel. This will be moderated by our current Yeshiva Schools parent and teacher, Rabbi Aaron Herman. Our own parents have submitted questions for them to discuss, and here we go. Thank you.
I do feel like I'm sitting in your kitchen, if your kitchen has a fireplace. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve here. It's a pleasure to have questions that parents have asked, and parents would like answers, and it's good to have both of you here so that we get the perspective of both Rabbi Russell and Mrs. Russell on these important questions. So like any Jewish question, we ask the parents, please submit a question. None of these questions have just one question. They're all more than one question. So just letting you know that.
Can I just say something to Rabbi Rosenblum? Before, when you spoke to my husband and you told him that when my husband asked, if this is a light schedule, what's the next one going to be? And you said, heavy. And then he said, I have to ask my wife. I'm saying, yes, we'll come back. It is amazing community. It's amazing what you're doing here.
So the first question, how will my kids become resilient if I coddle them by excusing their actions as trauma? And don't we absolve teens of responsibility when we make this excuse for them?
Hey, slow down.
Oh boy, okay.
Whoa.
We have a lot here.
I'm going to be polite. You want to start
Yeah,
first?
I'm going to take that card because it's a biggie. Okay.
You want to do that first? You know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say. Okay, well, first of all, how will my kids become resilient if I coddle them?
Coddle?
Well, yeah, coddle probably is not the right word, but creating resilience is, Shimon, you speak about this in the book. I mean, if anyone wants to know, you spoke about it earlier also, between 0 to 2, just nothing they could do is wrong. That's creating resilience. And so that's not coddling them. It's just being there and supporting them, and then excusing their actions as trauma.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
I hope you don't mind. Coddling?
Well,
that was the word.
Makes me crazy. Forgive me. Look, the implication that tuning in, caring for, understanding a child and tuning into their needs and trying to understand what they want is coddling, I find that awful. I must tell you, I find that awful. Coddling is indulging in a way that's inappropriate and will stunt growth. Tuning into a child's needs will always facilitate them having safety to come forward and be curious about life. It does the exact opposite. This whole idea.
Right. So the 0 to 2, it's necessary just to not see anything as wrong. So that's not coddling.
And so how do you deal with it when they're above 2?
Well, by doing 0 to 2, and like then my husband said, then you're giving them the security when you're starting to set those rules, structure, discipline. And yeah, and about the trauma, by creating the resilience, what?
Excusing their actions as trauma.
Right, so then, Well, first of all, trauma happens. people don't ask for it, it just happens. And having resilience, if we do it properly when they're younger, it helps them to cope with the trauma. It doesn't
How do you
take it
define
away.
trauma? What is trauma?
So can I do
You
this?
do that,
Is
yeah,
that okay?
yeah.
Look, if trauma, this is so crucial. If the word trauma was Hebrew, Aramaic, or Yiddish, we'd have to teach it in English, correct? If we, yeah, even in Yeshiva School,
true.
right? Okay, good. So the teach of the word trauma, this is a take-home for everybody. The teach of the word trauma means disconnect. That's what the word means. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us in a way that if you experience an event that is horrific or life-threatening, or in the case of complex trauma, where you have a myriad of micro-traumas that end up causing the same result as if it's a single event, the Kadosh Baruch Hu gifted us with a system, a marechet, a system inside us that will separate, distance, disconnect us from the source of the thing that is terrifying us. That disconnect is called trauma. That's a traumatic reaction, is to disconnect. That's exactly what we're meant to be doing. So on the contrary, if we don't create coddling, it's makes me crazy. Sorry.
Wrong word.
Wrong word. But I understand. Whoever wrote it, maybe I'm insulting them. I'm sorry. I apologize. Time out. Okay. They meant, I think they meant, if we're indulging, if we're tuning in too much, how's that going to help them? Aren't we, going the wrong direction? The answer is no. With anyone who's experienced any form of trauma, whether it's single event trauma or in the more likely, which is so common and prevalent today, complex trauma, which again, I repeat, is a combination of a myriad of micro traumas which cumulatively do the same thing. Well then, I think the words were responsibility. Don't we absolve them of responsibility when we make this excuse for them? On the contrary, trauma disconnects you. That means it puts you into a fight, flight, freeze mode. It takes you out of the prefrontal cortex. It puts you into the limbic system where you're going to find safety, which means the very thing we're asking them to do, which is take responsibility, guess where that occurs in the brain? Prefrontal cortex. So if they're offline because they've had a traumatic reaction, how can you expect them to take responsibility if we don't bring them back online, which means back into the prefrontal cortex, where you have the 9 cognitive, the executive functioning, the 9 features of executive function, which is here, including responsibility. If they're offline, how can they take responsibility?
So let me just see if I understand.
I'm sorry, did I say this too fast?
I don't know. I'll see if I understand.
Okay.
So are you saying that really what's happened is the child is disconnected? As a result of being disconnected, you can't really take personal responsibility, and we need to reconnect.
They're not capable.
You got it.
Yeah, they're not capable.
That's
right.
exactly it, right or
Yeah.
wrong? That's why we, thank you, give them a big round of applause. Right?
We didn't have a pre-meeting on that.
No, but that's exactly right. Once you understand that fundamental truth, what we're trying to teach all the time is create safety. Guess what? When you, right or wrong,
Right.
when you create safety with a child, you give them a chance to come back online, and that's the only place from which they can take responsibility.
So I guess that the word really is, you're right, coddle doesn't work. What we're asking the parent is that if your child has experienced a trauma, that's not an excuse. It's just saying the child is disconnected, and now you can reconnect, and that will result in responsibility.
Yes,
It's understanding them. It's understanding. Once we understand trauma, we understand we're not excusing them. We're just understanding where they're at and then trying to help them move forward. But this question is also dealing with like infants to teens, because the resilience really, if we're able to, is to create the resilience when they're younger. And they're talking about trauma of teens here. Don't we absolve teens of responsibility? So
How does this show up in a teenager?
So hopefully, if we've created that resilience, it's not to take away that they won't experience trauma, but the dip will be more shallow. They won't go as deep. So
They will disconnect less, and it'll be easier to reconnect.
yeah,
See, that is that okay?
go.
What resilience means is the ability to bounce back. That's what the word means. So you go through a difficult experience, perhaps even a traumatic experience. If we had helped create resilience early on in life, which means creating safety and security for a child early on in life, well then when they go through events which happen to kids, which we have no control over, we can't stop it, things happen. Kadosh Baruch Hu made the world that way, but when they happen, the dip is more shallow and they bounce back quicker. When they don't, that means they're in a trauma state, fight, flight, or freeze, for example. The only option we have is to create safety for them in order to come back online. So we actually facilitate resilience by tuning in and validating and understanding them. Is that right?
Yeah, and I wanted to say also, if you're doing the you're creating the resilience, you're doing the 4 S's, which my husband speaks about in the book. If you're doing that when they're
What
younger,
are the 4 S's, just quickly?
Safe, seen, soothed, and
Safe,
secure.
secure, seen, and soothed.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll read the book.
Yes.
Read the book.
Safe,
But
secure,
you
seen,
should
and
know
soothed.
this is not a small point. This point
This is huge.
of
This
safe,
is
secure, seen, and
attachments.
soothed. This is Dan Siegel's work. You know, I saw it in his book, Parenting from the Inside Out. And when I saw it, I realized this is almost like magical for us to understand this concept. Because providing safety, security, making sure our kids are seen, and then soothing them through their struggles and difficulties, that creates a situation for them to stay online, and it facilitates resilience. Essentially, we're inoculating them for life. And not only that, but later on, when we haven't done that, we shouldn't give up. Like everyone panics. They read the book and panic. Oh my gosh, I didn't do any of that. Now what do I do, you know?
And there's always grandchildren.
There's always grandchildren, right. But what I discovered, and I've been doing this with my clients, I think you're doing the same with yours, what we've discovered is that it becomes a model you can wrap your head around to now work with your teenager who you didn't do it with. Okay, let's understand what it means to create safety for my kid. Let's understand what it means to create security around them. Let's make sure they're seen, that I notice them, tune into them, hear them, feel them, understand them, and that I reflect it back to them so they know I know them. And let's make sure I soothe them, even if they caused the problems they got into, which teenagers do, right? Mm-hmm. But we soothe them first. You want to have a schmooze with them, do it 2 days later. Right now, go soothe them. And what you discover with your struggling teen is when you create safe, seen, secure, seen, and soothed, they become present, they get back into the prefrontal cortex, and they actually start taking responsibility, and they start owning up for their stuff. If we don't provide this, then we never get them back because they see us as unsafe, and they continue down whatever road they're on.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say, by doing that, creating the resilience, you know, once again, what my husband was saying, is then they have the relationship with us that when they get into situations, traumatic situations, they'll feel safer to come to us. It's not going to say they're not going to go through things, but at least they have us to communicate with and in some way possibly help them get through it.
The operational word here is creating healthy attachment with our kids. When we create healthy, secure attachment with our children, guess what? We all discover they come and talk to us about their problems. Wow,
They're not ashamed.
Isn't that a chiddush? They actually come and talk to us, right? Most parents complain bitterly. They walk around all miserable and moping, and they never tell you anything. But if you have healthy attachment, if you create that security, then they will soft come and talk to you, and then we can get them help.
Thank you. That's
I just
very
want
effective.
to I just want to end the question with, no one should feel bad if they didn't do this, because this is something very new that we're all learning, and most of us did not know. I mean, our generation for sure, as having kids when we were when they were, you know, having kids when we did, we didn't know these things. So therefore, people shouldn't feel bad. This is a new thing that's coming out, and if you weren't able to do it, there's always such a thing as repairing attachments. That's also important to know.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to another question. A parent writes, how do we deal with the challenges of the smartphone? My children are probably going places on their phones and computers that I don't want. I can't discuss this with them because I don't want to give them ideas they don't have without me.
They have it.
They have the ideas.
More than
they know
more than
more
the
than
parents.
we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
They know more than we do.
But go ahead.
We haven't been great about installing filters, and that was obviously a mistake. How can we convince them to let us put some kind of monitoring on their phones so that we can keep them safe?
Shall I make a... Okay, so look, this question, impossible to answer this question. This needs a workshop, this question, let's be honest. It also doesn't define what kind of child we're talking about. We're talking a kid who's off the derech and 16, which is a world of difference to an on the derech 11-year-old who just feels like having a phone because some of their friends do. It's just a world of difference. It depends on what community you're in. It depends on the culture of the home, the culture of the school, the culture of the environment, what age, what gender, what the family do, and where the kid's holding in life. So do I do all of those now?
And probably a few more.
I think you can choose one, whatever you think is most common.
Look, I say like this. We need to parent our children. We need to not be afraid of our children. That means under normative, let's take normative, we'll do that first, not crisis, is that okay? Under normative circumstances, we need to let our kids know that it is unconscionable for us to allow you to have a internet-connected phone without a filter, without limitations and restrictions. That is unconscionable. What I had told some of our children, and I certainly told this to the clients, the kids I work with, if we don't do that to you, then I assure you that somewhere in your 30s or 40s, you will drag your aging parents into therapy and blast them to smithereens. Why were you so weak that you didn't stand up to me and you let me do that? What is wrong with you?
Okay,
And
that's
no,
a pretty
I don't
powerful
want,
statement.
and I don't want to have that experience. Thank you very much. You know, when I say this to kids, they get it. They get it. So I'd rather stand up to you now. Under normative circumstances, we need to be parents. We need to stand up and we need to be secure and confident and let them know. What we don't want to do is get angry. What we don't want to do is use anger and madness and upsetness and threats. That's crazy because that again undermines safety. If your child is already in that world where this is their question and they want or they have or they're involved in this some way, the most crucial thing for you to do is work your relationship.
Totally.
Work your relationship. Do you want to speak about
Yeah,
that?
I was going to say, also, you mentioned normative parenting. If you happen to notice you're doing normative parenting and trying to protect your kid, and then all of a sudden you're seeing that something in the relationship is like kind of distancing, like maybe there was something we didn't notice, maybe something's going on, then we have to be careful, because if we're starting to lose a relationship, we're going to lose a child.
So won't a child say, you don't understand, this is the way I communicate with my class, and this is the way, and I need this, and everybody's doing this, and why are you the one who doesn't want to get dragged in when you're old to therapy? All my friends' parents do this.
Let their parents go to therapy.
Okay.
It's okay.
But I also just want to mention that if the child gets upset, like we always say, it's fine, that's normal. So if we're seeing they're upset with our decision,
Look,
if in 2 days they're back to normal, that's fine. If you see that it's carrying on more, there's something more going on and we need to tune in.
This is what my wife just said is crucial. I'm going to say a very radical thing. Not very radical. Radical, not very radical.
Yes.
It's okay?
Of all the things he said, it's from
Okay,
very
this
radical.
is not very, should I say very radical?
Stick to radical.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, we're going to play this safe.
yeah,
You sure?
yeah.
Okay. Everyone has to know this. Everyone knows there is none of us are idiots. We are all aware of what we call the dangers of the internet. We're all aware of the incredible dangers of exposure to inappropriate things on the internet. There's no one who doesn't know about this. Every adult parent knows this. Here's the radical thing. If you're going to lose your relationship with your child, battling with them, with the inevitability that they will get it anyway, they're of an age, they have resources, their circumstances, I don't want to specify, but we all know what that means. In other words, we know that somehow they're going to go to the local Walmart or wherever they're going and they're going to buy it and get it and do it. Losing your relationship with your child, battling over the smartphone, is a worse damage to your child in the long run than anything they're going to see on the internet. And I say anything. This is a crucial, crucial understanding. While I've said at the beginning, we should be parents, we have to stand up, and we have to start, etc., that's where we can. But if, God forbid, we lose a relationship with your child, battling over the internet, that can be deadly. Watching inappropriate stuff or seeing inappropriate stuff on the internet is not deadly. It's destructive, but it's not deadly. Whereas losing a relationship with a parent is deadly, or can be rather, deadly. So we need to know, I've said two different things there. On the one hand, we need to be parents. Have I said it right?
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
We have to be parents. We have to stand up. We have to be confident and secure and make sure that we filter and we protect and we shelter.
And this is normative parenting.
That's normative parenting. There is also in the, shall we say, in the crisis world where, God forbid, a child has moved into a place where that war over the internet, we could lose our relationship with our child, who will shut down from us and disappear from us and literally disconnect from us. That could be deadly.
That's moving into crisis.
That's in crisis chinuch. And therefore we need to be sensitive to that we don't, we don't overstep our boundaries, and then we understand it and work with them with some sort of filtering perhaps, but we give it to them because the alternative is worse. And that needs a lot of explanation how to apply. Please take that to your local mental health professional, your local Rav, work it out with him. Do not quote me and say, Russell said we have to do this, because I'll get in trouble.
Well, I guess the common denominator between both questions is what you're saying is the connection between parent and child is what's of ultimate value.
Crucial.
Critical.
Okay.
Because you cannot facilitate saving and keeping our kids safe unless we have a deep, meaningful relationship with them.
And if they don't have that with us, they need it, so they will look for it somewhere else where they are accepted with wherever they're at.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to continue with two more questions in a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to have a little interim here where we're going to ask you to give your attention to the screen behind us.
Let's go.
And we will have a documentary about Yeshiva's remarkable 80 years of history.
December 6, 1941 was an auspicious date when world history was divided into before and after. For Pittsburgh's Jewish community, it was likewise a point of demarcation. On that day, Yud Zayin Kislev on the Hebrew calendar, Rabbi Mordechai Dov Altein was called into the Frierdiker Rebbe's office. Rabbi Altein, just 21, was being sent to the city of Pittsburgh. A shul in the Hill District, Anshe Lubavitch, had written asking for assistance. Their need was so great that he could not wait until after the annual Yud Tes Kislev for Brangen, 3 days away. His train was to depart the very next morning. The Rebbe had already replied to the letter. I am herewith sending one from amongst the choicest students of Tomchei Tmimim, who possess great talents. He is a superlative scholar and has a pleasant demeanor. When Rabbi Altein arrived in Pittsburgh the next day, he found the Rebbe's letter in a closet full of mail, unopened. Undeterred, Rabbi Altein wrote to Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson, his teacher and future father-in-law. On the 20th of Kislev, I went to the ladies' auxiliary, and I spoke to them a little bit about Yeshiva's Tomchei Tmimim in New York. I said that it was quite possible that we would start a yeshiva in Pittsburgh as well. The possibility quickly became a reality. By Erev Pesach, Rabbi Altein was renting temporary space on Murray Avenue and looking for a more permanent home for his after-school program. Following a move to Ward Street in South Oakland, he continued to recruit students in what was often a door-to-door effort. In 1943, he was joined by Rabbi Shalom and Mrs. Chaya Posner, who arrived with the mandate of expanding the afternoon program to become the first Achei Tmimim day school outside of New York City. Rabbi Posner, too, went house to house. His efforts yielded mixed results. Many simply shut the door in his face. Rabbi Kahas Weiss, who would go on to become a principal of yeshiva, said his parents enrolled him primarily because they were impressed with Rabbi Posner's perseverance. Yeshiva found larger quarters on Dawson Street and started their inaugural year there with 5 students. They had 27 by year's end. The Dawson Street building was home for much of the 40s until the school moved to Ellsworth Avenue. Yeshiva also purchased a house on the corner of Whiteman and Hobart in Squirrel Hill. As the 60s began, former students became employees. Rabbi Kahus Weiss, an alum of the first class, returned to teach in 1961, the same year Rabbi Ephraim and Mrs. Miriam Rosenblum arrived as new staff members. Miss Kenny Posner, who'd watched her parents dedicate time and effort to growing yeshiva, began teaching at just 17, and after she married Rabbi Yecheskel Darren and started a family, she enrolled her own children in the school, among them their daughter Blumi. As yeshiva continued to grow in the 60s, they moved again to the larger Soho bathhouse on 5th Avenue. The school also renovated the house on the corner of Whiteman Street for their small and brand new girls' high school. Yeshiva was changed forever in 1975 with the Pittsburgh Public Schools strike. Rabbi Posner announced he would accept any child, and within weeks, 120 new students enrolled. Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum, a middle school student at the time, remembers that it changed the whole climate in the school. After the strike ended, some of the students returned to public school, but others remained. From then on, yeshiva was a larger school and would only keep growing. 3 years later, in 1978, Rabbi Yisrael and Mrs. Blumi Rosenfeld moved to Pittsburgh to work in the school's administration. It was not Mrs. Rosenfeld's first experience with yeshiva. Blumi Darren, before her marriage, Mrs. Rosenfeld was born into the school and had been a student through 11th grade. The Rosenfelds had their hands full right away with a rapidly growing school community. As more Balei Tshuva married and established families, they sought out locations in which to settle down. Many of them ended up in Pittsburgh. In the early 90s, with the school building bursting at the seams, the local federation began the Renaissance campaign. Spearheaded by Zev and Liba Rudolph, significant members of the school community, the funds raised helped yeshiva purchase the Denniston building for the girls and move their boys to Whiteman Street. In the years since, yeshiva has continued to grow and develop, welcoming new families, purchasing the new Greenfield campus, and restructuring under CEO and head of school Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum. Throughout it all, yeshiva remains indebted to the pioneers who shouldered the mission of this school and dedicated their lives and energies to welcoming any Jewish child seeking an education. Pittsburgh sits at the juncture of 3 rivers, historically an important place for strategic outposts for the military. For our founders, leaders, and educators, the city is also a crucial center, not of physical might, but of spiritual power. The Baal Shem Tov once asked Mashiach when he would arrive and was told, when the wellsprings of Chassidus spread outwards. Those wellsprings have, for the past 8 decades, flowed freely here from Yeshiva Schools of Pittsburgh.
This is not planned, but necessary. There was a great rabbi, Rabbi Shapiro, who was the last speaker once at an evening. Many rabbis spoke before him, and he said the following. He said, everybody else spoke Torah, but they meant money. I'm going to speak about money, and with the money, we'll use it for Torah. Ladies and gentlemen, it is no secret that the reason we're gathered here tonight, of course, is to hear the wisdom of Rabbi Mrs. Russell and to hear Tali perform and to see these wonderful videos. But we're here mostly for those who are here local and those who are watching over the internet, watching this live stream. We're here to raise at least $600,000. We're currently at 90%. However, to raise the $20,000, that's all we need to raise because it's tripled. To raise the $20,000, we need you. There's different ways to come to $20,000. I don't have the time to show you my math or show you the lack thereof. One of the ways is 20 people give 1,000, correct? 40 people give 500. All jokes aside, you can do it over 12 months. Take out your phone. Give a donation to Yeshiva Schools of Pittsburgh, and I guarantee you the money will go for a good cause. Thank you for coming here tonight, and thank you for getting us to $600,000, hopefully, in the next 20 minutes. And now, Rabbi Mrs. Russell.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we move on to question number 3.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for families with tweens and teens who have an older sibling who is not frum? Should parents address this directly with the younger ones? Should parents ask older siblings to adhere to certain family norms in front of younger children?
Well, can I have the card again? So in terms of the one who's struggling, to ask them to conform, that really depends on the relationship where they're holding. You know, once again, there's so many variables, so it's really hard to answer. I would say if there's a good relationship and the child's not acting out of anger, but just their own struggles, you definitely can have a conversation. If the relationship's struggling and not really there, it's probably better not to ask. So once again, it depends on the relationship, and that has to do with so many questions, the relationship. In terms of speaking to the younger kids, that's important. It's important that the kids should feel they have a voice. They shouldn't feel confused. They have a place they could express themselves, not hold it in. So that's really important.
And how would you express that to the younger children? Let's say that they're 10 or 12 or 14. How would you express that?
You could say, you know, so-and-so you see is behaving in this way, and I imagine it's confusing. Do you want to share? Is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything I can do to be helpful? Is it challenging and difficult? You just try to have a conversation and see what they say and listen and tune in.
Yeah. I think it's perfectly reasonable that this question, should parents ask older siblings to adhere to certain family norms in front of younger children? We're talking about a struggling teen. The answer is, you can ask, you can't impose. You absolutely can have a conversation, certainly not in front of everybody else, and talk to them and say, we would appreciate it if you can. And I would honestly recommend very strongly you finish the sentence by saying, but you don't have to. Because the worst thing that happens to a struggling kid is to feel controlled. And in most cases, the moment you try to control them, you're going to create a backlash that's going to make it worse. And amazingly, again, we're going back to the idea we were talking about, in fact, the whole night, about creating safety. When you tell the kid, I'd appreciate it if you could, but I'm telling you, you don't have to. And when you're authentic and you really mean it, you free safety up for the child, and it's not uncommon that they try. They really try to. At the same time, yes, we should talk to the younger kids. We should tell them, certainly if they ask, that you see we're allowing behaviors that are not normative behaviors with your older sibling, and we love them and we accept them. They're struggling. They're struggling. And we're going to allow it to be.
My guess is most parents are probably afraid that the younger ones will be influenced by the older ones' behavior. So how would you address that?
Sure. So I tell,
You go.
Yeah. So I tell them straight up, this is already 25 years that I've researched and seen this very clearly. If you have an older sibling who's struggling, we're talking about like the off the derech sugya, right?
Mm-hmm.
A teen in crisis.
Correct.
Then if you have a younger sibling who already has a pre-existing problem, a learning disability, experienced trauma, something happened to them, then the older sibling, you're freeing the older sibling and accepting them as they are, is going to facilitate or activate the younger child to move quicker to be in the same camp as them. And that's good, not bad. Because the earlier a child struggles and exhibits whatever's going on inside them, the sooner and quicker we can help facilitate healing them, reaching them, understanding them, and helping them get their lives back.
So it's almost as if you have a built-in test for the younger siblings.
Well, I want to tell you, it got to the point where we were saying, like let's push them off quick when they're younger. Because when they go off older, it's very difficult to get them back. Because when they go off older, they develop a philosophy. So no, I'm kidding. I'm not saying we should do it. But if it happens, it's inevitable. Because that exposure will free them to be able to expose what's already hurting inside them. Whereas if you have other children who have not experienced trauma, who do not have learning issues, then in 99.9% of the cases, on the contrary, they learn how to be healthier, wonderful, caring, loving people growing up, learning, modeling on their own parents, seeing how their parents love and accept and are working with their siblings, for which they're grateful, and that will inform them as part of their chinuch and how they will grow up in a healthier way.
So
Not
I
only
guess-
are they not interested, they're not interested. If they're doing well, like my husband said, they're not going to be affected and they're not interested. And they will have compassion once they see how we interact with that child. They will have compassion for the sibling as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, though, that if you have one of those children who you have a family with older siblings struggling, you also have children at home who are staying with the program. They're bearing with it and they're doing well. Trust me, they're hurting. They're not hurting that's going to take them off the derech, but they're hurting because their normative life has been interrupted. They might be embarrassed by their their friends to come over the house. There's all sorts of reasons why they're hurting, and it's crucial that we sit down with them and tune into, I bet this is hard for you.
Right. That's the question we answered earlier.
We did?
Yeah, this one. But you can't say it enough because they're the invisible child. We don't know what's going on because they're not acting out and they're keeping it in mostly because they don't want to make our lives any harder. They
Right.
think they're doing us a favor by not expressing their pain.
And while we're so proud of them, they're staying strong, we have to realize they're paying a price for that. And at this stage of their life, they're hurting. And we absolutely have to find the time to sit down with them and simply acknowledge that pain. That's all they need, by the way. It's amazing. That's all they need. They don't need us to fix it. They get it. They understand the situation. They see what we're dealing with. What they need from us is to be healthy enough to go over to them and say, this must be really hard for you. That's it. That's enough. They don't need more than that.
Shimon, and I just want to address what we spoke before about the question of should we ask the child who's struggling to kind of conform a little bit? And what you said was amazing. I just want to address the parents out there who have a child who is actually really deep in crises and they're struggling big time and they're angry. At that point, I think there is no asking them. Tell me what you think, but I think there is no, right. So there are times, I just want to address, because the parents who are hearing this, there is an area that we can't.
You're saying if they're angry, then they will interpret the ask as control.
Yes, absolutely. If there's any schmeck of you got it.
Yeah.
You're very good. You're good at this.
I'll come on the road with you.
You want to sit on this side?
Well, thank you. So I think that's very helpful because, to summarize, it means that we don't have to be afraid if there's an older sibling going through this, and that definitely talk to the younger children. There's only things to gain by doing so.
Yes, and by the way, one last piece. It's frequent. You talk to this is what parents always tell me. We talk to the younger kids, and they go and tell the older, oh, Mommy said or Tati said that you're like crazy.
Well,
you're like, you're struggling.
not exactly.
You're struggling, and then they come back like fuming at you, because they interpret, struggling as crazy or whatever they say. And then you're like, whoa, now what, right? And the answer is very simple. When the older sibling comes fuming at you and they say, how could you tell them I'm crazy? And they scream at you. You say, well, actually, I simply told them you're struggling because they were confused. Please tell me a kinder and better way I could communicate that. Teach me how I could explain to your siblings the struggles you're going through because they're terribly confused. Show me a kinder way I could do it. That's all.
Okay. And can I add one more thing? I know we're always building. There's so much to say about this. I want to talk about if you have the healthy relationship, a really good, the one we spoke about where they're not angry and they're just struggling because of the trauma, you can go to them beforehand and say, I have to say something to the kids because they seem confused. What would you be happy with?
So you can have that.
That's when you have the relationship. What would be best for you if I say to them? What would make you feel more comfortable?
Right. So let's move on to the fourth question.
Okay.
This is a challenging one. How do I support my child in the classroom when I don't feel confident in the teacher? And what guidelines or advice would you give to a parent in how to respond to a child who has complaints about the school in general or about a particular staff member?
So why don't you do this? You spoke about this
Yeah.
earlier with Rabbi
Is that okay?
Rosenblum.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to tell you something amazing. It's true that as parents, we frequently have and can have concluded a negative attitude towards a teacher or Rebbe. It happens, it's unfortunate, and it happens all the time. As a therapist, frequently over the years, I've done something that's so magical, touching, and meaningful. I invited, now this is going to sound crazy, I invited the Rebbe and teacher and the parent to my office. And here's what I did. I got them each to expose their resentment to each other.
Wow.
To actually tell them what they picked up. Here's what I picked up about you. Here's what I picked up about you. And then we're going to go and work together to see, can we tune in to each other? As I said to Rabbi Rosenblum earlier, can we sit here now and tune into the struggles you as the Rebbe teacher are having with my child? Can I tune into what the struggles you're having? Can we understand each other? And we spend an hour talking it through. It's remarkable how at the end of that meeting, and it's happened to me time and time again, at the end of the meeting, there's been an understanding of each other, and a real warmth has occurred between them as they both understand and stop being threatened by each other. If a parent has come to a conclusion that you have a problem with a Rebbe, and I'd say to a Rebbe or teacher, if you've come to a conclusion that some sort of crazy parent, go talk to each other before you do anything else. Have the courage to go and talk to each other. Try and connect. Trying to, not with tinnitus and complaints.
And would you encourage that to be a facilitated conversation?
Frequently, it's the only way to do it. Find someone to facilitate that you could sit down and talk together. Maybe it could be the principal of the school. Maybe it could be your therapist. Who knows? But find someone to sit down. It is crucial for the child, as long as the child is in that school, that the parents and the Rebbe or teacher find some common ground. Even though, as I said before, their priorities are always different. They'll never be on the same page. That's totally unrealistic. But we can have two pages that can work together like in a book, either side. Okay, we've got the 2 pages, they're going to work together. We can make that happen, but it's only going to happen through dialogue. And that goes back to the whole premise of safety, which is what I believe is my mission.
So let me ask you, because this often comes up, when a child complains about school, should a parent be validating? Should a parent be excusing the school? In the old days, whatever the school said was correct.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Do you want to...
So I wanted to say, first of all, it's very important to validate the child. That doesn't mean you disrespect the school, diss the school to them. You're just connecting to their feelings. And that's what we're trying to do over anything, whether it's the school, whether it's a friend. So definitely validate the child. And I would say also, by speaking with the child and validating them, and saying that you're going to try to connect with the school and try to find out what's going on, you're modeling, you're not getting angry. When you hear the child, you're saying, oh, that school, like I can't believe it, but you're modeling good behavior, how to problem solve. I'm going to go there, I'm going to try to figure out, let's see what's going on. And the child learns from you how to interact when there's conflict.
It's crucial, taking what my wife just said, it's crucial that we validate the child, but validation doesn't mean we agree. You have to have in your own head that I'm not saying I agree this is the truth. I am agreeing that it's my child's truthful experience. And you've got to tune into that. The child needs to feel that you tune into it. Meanwhile, you go and make it your business to try and work out what's going on with the Rebbe teacher. Can we connect? Can we find common ground and make this work together? It's crucial.
And what happens if a teacher is not so competent and is not able to meet the needs of your child?
Then you have the exact same conversation with the administrator and the principals in the same way. We understand there's a problem. How can we work together to remediate this problem? Just go and speak to the principals about it.
Okay. All right.
Dialogue, conversation, basically.
What a concept.
And yes, it is, isn't it crazy? But the dialogue and conversation, what we have to move to is respecting the fact that both sides have to create safety, or there'll be dishonesty and will never help the child. We have to create safety.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Done? Oh, wow.
Turn it back to Dr. Gooderson.
This is crazy. It goes like 2 seconds.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Just getting started. I know.
Aaron Herman to do this. He's absolutely superb. Also, thank you so much, Rabbi and Mrs. Russell. It's wonderful, wonderful. Also, that video, it was the first time I saw it, was just absolutely extraordinary. So whoever put that video together for the 80 years of yeshiva, Yesher Koyach. Obviously, we're in the home stretch here, and since Rabbi Rosenblum spoke, it looks like there's some $1,000 that have come in. We have Shanir Silverman. I'm announcing these people gave 1,000 or more. Itchy and Shayna Glassner. Benny and Moore Greenberg. And I think earlier in the evening, Kai Althoff. And Yaakov and Chaya Hoffinger. And dare I add, after Rabbi Rosenblum just spoke, my wife, who's sitting right behind me, sort of poked me on the shoulder, and I guess we sort of joined in as well. Speaking of my wife, we're now going to have Tali Yes come back up again, and we have a very special connection to Tali Yes. Yes, we do. Because 32 years ago, I was a single guy, and I went to a singles party in New York with a whole lot of neurotic people. A room filled with neurotic singles, for any people who've gone through that scene. And lo and behold, across the crowded room, there was a beautiful woman who was standing there who was not neurotic whatsoever. Why? She was focused, totally focused, watching the musician play his music. And that musician, ladies and gentlemen, was Tali Yes's father, Moshe Yes. And so, I want to thank Tali Yes for the fact that my wife and I are still happily married. Tali Yes.
Give another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Thank you, Eli, if you turn that back on. Speaking of marriages and Jewish continuity, I just want to say I was asked to officiate a wedding in the back kitchen, which is why you guys heard that glass break earlier. It's not something I usually do, but make exceptions for exceptional circumstances. This next song is another song about Jewish continuity, and it's something very important, and something that I realize that I have to put onto myself as a responsibility. My father, unfortunately, passed away before he ever had a chance to meet my children. And I realized that, having a Zaidi is a very, very important, integral role in every family unit in the Jewish world. So this next song is a very popular song my father wrote. It's called My Zaidi. Thank you. It's partially true. It's partially about my Zaidi, and it's partially about yours. My Zaidi lived with us in my parents' home. He used to laugh, he put me on his knee, and he spoke about his life in Poland. And he spoke, but with a bitter memory. And he spoke about the soldiers who would beat him. They laughed at him, they tore his long black coat. He spoke about a synagogue that they burnt down. and the crying that was heard beneath the smoke. But Sadie made us laugh, and Sadie made us sing, and Sadie made a kiddush Friday night. And Zadie, oh my Zadie, how I loved him so. Zadie used to teach me wrong from right. His eyes lit up when he would teach me Torah. He taught me every line so carefully. And he spoke about our slavery in Egypt, and how God took us out to make us free. But Sadie made us laugh, and Sadie made us sing, and Sadie made us Seder Pesach night. And Zadie, oh my Zadie, how I loved him so. Zadie used to teach me wrong from right. But winter went by, summer came along. I went to camp to run and play. When I came back home, they said, Zadie's gone, and all his books were packed and stored away. And I don't know how or why it came to be. It happened slowly over many years. We just stopped being Jewish like my Zadie was. And no one cared enough to shed a tear. But Zadie made us laugh, and Zadie made us sing, and Zadie made a kiddush Friday night. And Zadie, oh my Zadie, how I love him so. Zadie used to teach me wrong from right. And many winters went by, and many summers came along. And now my children sit in front of me. And who will be the Zadie of my children? Who will be their Zadie if not me? Who will be the Zadies of our children? Who will be their Zadies if not we? And Zadie made us laugh, and Zadie made us sing, and Zadie made a kiddush Friday night. And Zadie, oh my Zadie, how I love him so. Zadie used to teach me wrong from right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, that song rings even more true to me now that two of my children, basically none of them have Zadies. Both of their Zadies are gone, and it's really a huge burden, a huge responsibility for each and every one of us to instill in our children the idea that, like they were discussing earlier, that Hashem is not this angry old man screaming at you, and you should not approach, your children with that attitude, because then that's going to be their archetype of who their God is, the angry rabbi at them. You have to approach them with kindness, compassion, empathy, and this is really the new way. Chaim, by the way, Rabbi Rosenblum. He asked him to put some Zetzik Nights in this earlier, so shkoyach, thank you. I'm shocked. And when all else fails, you can always pray. This next song is a song that when I feel like I try everything that I can to try to make things work on my end. and things don't always work. Sometimes it's Hashem just saying, hey, look up at me for a second, buddy. And this next song is a Tehillim, a little chapter in Tehillim that was turned into a song by Yosef Karduner many years ago, and it was I was able to draw inspiration from it and hope, and no matter how tough a situation is, how many times I went to a concert and there were delays, and I just say this, and somehow Hashem works a miracle out. So some of us are looking for miracles. We're looking for answers, but sometimes we're looking for miracles too. And when we do, let's say these words if you can. Shir HaMahalot Yesah Einai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Ezri Me'im Hashem עושה שמיים וארץ, אל יתן למות רגליך, ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא ישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צילך, על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יקקה וירח בלילה, השם ישמורך מקורח, ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ויד עולם, מעתה ויד עולם. שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי, עזרי מעם השם, עושה שמיים בארץ, אל ייתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא ישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צילך, היד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יקקה וירח בלילה, השם ישמורך מקורח, ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ויד עולם, מעתה ויד עולם. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a little short break and come back for a little more later. Remember, guys, please dig deep and donate generously. There's no more important cause than you can for Chinuch. Chinuch is really making sure that everything we invested in our own lives and staying Jewish and educating our children stays true so that they'll instill the same values and have ways to do it and come up with new creative resources when it's time for them to do that. So thank you again for all those that helped, and please continue to give and give and give. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tali. Yes. Let me give you a hug, man. Thank you. We are in the home stretch here. We just have a few hours to go. We are getting very, very close. So please, everybody, everyone who's watching live stream, everybody, please, let's dig in. Let's reach this goal. Again, our sponsors, who we thank tremendously, the Mars and Hashimi families, COL Live, Jennifer Reed and Zev and Liba Rudolph, we thank you so much. I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you, and it's going to take money, a whole lot of spending money. It's going to take plenty of money to do it, to do it, to do it. Yes, it's money, but of course the money, as we've been hearing over and over again, goes toward Torah, goes towards our precious, precious gems, our children. So please, in the home stretch, holychinuch.com. Let's reach this goal. We've been working so hard, and we are so, so close. And now we are going to have something different. It's called a rapid fire segment. Our live audience received cards at the start of the show to write a question for Rabbi Russell. So I've been told we got a lot of great questions, and Rabbi Russell's going to answer them rapid fire, meaning with 60 seconds on the clock. And so here we go. And by the way, the questions happen to be in my pocket. Right here. Come on up.
Asking the questions?
I'm asking questions.
Yeah. You got questions? We got answers. 60 seconds?
60 seconds.
Painful.
Okay? Now, we're not going to do this like the Academy Awards where we start, go, We're not going to do that. Have no fear. But we want to try to keep it to 60 seconds. Question number 1. Are kids struggling more these days than they have been in the past? Or are we making things a bigger deal than they really are? If they are, what is it that they need today?
Yes, no question about it. Kids are definitely struggling more than ever before. There's no question about it. And you ask me, what do they need most of all?
Yes.
Safety. They need us to create safety. They need our love, our attention, our concern, our kindness, our benevolence. They need us to tune into them, show interest in what they have to say in order to create safety for them to flourish. That's all they need.
Beautiful. And we have 30 seconds left, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2, should we automatically validate children's complaints about school? I think we just heard that one.
I think we just did that one.
Yeah, so you can do that
The
very
answer is
quickly.
yes, as long as we realize validation does not mean you agree. It means you care about their experience. We have to communicate to our children, I care deeply about your experience, and it matters to me. Okay, but that doesn't mean necessarily that I personally believe globally it's true. As a matter of fact, when you empathize, and let me watch the clock here, I've got loads of time. When you empathize and you tune into your children and you make them feel understood with true empathy and caring, without taking sides on the matter, you simply soothe them. You tune into them. Guess what happens 9 times out of 10? They feel better and they walk off. And there was no big deal in the first place. We have to tune in, empathize. I got so much time here, it's great. We can tune in, empathize, and let Hashem take care of the rest.
Thank you, thank you. Third question, you speak about the Melamed and the Mechanech. What exactly is the difference between them?
Oh, this is huge, especially in the world we live in.
Well, you have 58 seconds left.
Oh, yeah. So, think of it this way. A melamed, the word melamed means to teach over, to install. A melamed installs information in the mind of a child. That's about installation, to teach them stuff they didn't know before. They don't have the neural pathways, so we're going to teach them Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Komets, Pasach. We're going to teach them how to understand and teach. That's installation. That's the job of a melamed. A mechanech is about extraction. It's about looking at a child, recognizing what is your God-given greatness. Who are you? I want to see you, I want to extract it, and I want to share it back to you and show you what your amazing potential is given to you by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a mechanech.
Thank you. As a psychiatrist, you have inspired me. Thank you.
Are you going to sing now?
I can come up with a song,
Okay.
but they're a little tired of the songs. Number 4, what do you think is the primary quality a Rebbe teacher needs to possess today?
Oh my gosh, that's an easy one. 10 seconds. We got
Go
that?
for it. Go for it.
Listen, the primary quality is that a Rebbe or teacher has to love the children. I had a very tragic story one time that turned out amazingly, amazingly good. I was out of town. I was doing a consultation with a star Rebbe who had lost touch with his class. And the administrator asked me, would I talk to him to see if I could help him out? So I did. I talked it through with him. And I told him, here's your problem. And it's painful. And he was hurt. But to his credit, he took it seriously. I met him 6 months later. He told me his career changed back again. I told him, you love teaching. The problem is you don't love children. Learn how to love children more than you love teaching, and you'll do an amazing job. And he did.
Beautiful. Thankfully, he had the strength to look himself in the mirror.
Yes.
If you have a student or a child who is acting out, what do you do? How do you view that child?
I don't see them as acting out. I see them as expressing what's going on inside them, as some sort of pain or hurt. Something's there. Interpret. For heaven's sakes, interpret behavior before you intervene in behavior. You and I know that as mental health professionals. That acting out is something inside is emerging for us to understand what's going on in their internal world. So acting out doesn't make the whole concept doesn't make sense. It's an opportunity to view the inner world of a child. Let's see if we can understand what are they actually trying to tell us through this behavior, and perhaps we can understand their internal world and really try and help them.
Beautiful. With you all the way. The inner world. Should we be trying to explain to children why it is important for them to obey the rules, structure, and discipline that is imposed upon them?
Yes, we absolutely should, but never at the time of the infraction. Never at the time when we're actually imposing the rules, structure, and discipline. At that moment, you don't want to explain it, because then you turn your parenting or your teaching, or the parenting certainly, into you only have to listen to me if I can come up with a good enough reason to convince you why you should have to listen to me. And that's a terrible way to parent. We have to be able to tell them, here's the consequence. It's unfortunate, but this is what it is. And we do it with sadness, softness, and kindness. Later on, a day or two later, you might want to sit down with them and say, by the way, you had that issue the other day. I'd like to explain to you what that's all about. 9 times out of 10, they go, I know.
Beautiful. So don't talk to them when the limbic system is in charge.
100% not.
Okay, how to deal with sibling rivalry?
How to live. That's life. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave siblings rivalry. He gave us the gift. You know why? No, this is really true. Our homes are meant to be a social environment in which children can learn how to control themselves, work out relationships, discipline themselves, care for others. They do that in the safety of the home. So then when they matriculate, when they leave home and they go on to their own lives, they can take that knowledge with them. Sibling rivalry is a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for us as parents to be able to facilitate teaching our children midas and how to behave in a healthy way. Aya pere Adam Yevolid, says Neov, as a wild donkey, a child is born. It's our job to, out of that wild donkey, create a man, Adam Yevolid. That's what sibling rivalry is for. It's a gift.
Beautiful. You wrote in your book that there are 2 types of chinuch, regular chinuch and crisis chinuch. Can you explain the difference and define when a parent needs to switch to crisis chinuch?
Sure. So I use the description, it's a word for many years, of crisis chinuch to differentiate from normative chinuch. In normative chinuch, we know that when we set the rules, structure, and discipline, like bedtime, I say to my kid, it's bedtime, and the kid's, right? And you say, yeah, but it's bedtime. Yeah, but whatever they say. Yeah, but Shefel, it's bedtime. And you take them to bed, and that's the end of it. They may be upset with you tonight, but tomorrow they love you. Everything's fine. They bounce out of bed in a good mood. Crisis chinuch starts where whatever you're doing with your child in terms of rules, structure, and discipline, in other words, limit setting, not just fails, but it destroys your relationship with your kid. As I said earlier, destroying your relationship with your child is potentially lethal. So crisis chinuch is when you make the switch to the type of chinuch whereby I may allow and tolerate things I normally wouldn't tolerate, facilitate things I normally wouldn't allow, but I do that for the purpose of maintaining a relationship with my child, because losing that relationship could be, God forbid, deadly.
Beautiful. You are doing great so far. I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
Okay. What's the best way to connect to my child? How do I best support my teenager during a hard time?
Okay, talk. I mean, we have to learn to talk, and talking is not talking at them. It's talking and trying to understand how they feel, tuning into kids, understanding what's going on in their world. All our journey as parenting is to try and understand their inner world. and try and be available to them, not imposing upon them, but tuning into them, schmoozing with them, understanding them and connecting with them. With teenagers, you've got to realize they're in that wacky world of teenage years, and mostly they're not that interested in what we have to say. Most of the teens think that we're antiques. They think and that's why I always tell parents, have I got time for this? For heaven's sakes, when the clock changes, change the time on your microwave. Don't let it blink on and off, and certainly don't walk around flapping your hands as if you have no clue how to do it. Your kid will do it blindfold. They'll change it. You know what we're doing then? We're teaching them that we're antiques. Why would they listen to us about anything else? Teens need our support. They don't need us to act like idiots as if we have no clue when they know all about life. I personally, by the way, I take all manuals, technology stuff in the bathroom, and I study them. I will not have my kids know how to do italics on WhatsApp, and I don't. Believe me, I know. If you want to know afterwards, ask me.
Thank you. Will therapy help me manage my own emotions to be a better parent?
Well, how's it been working for you till now?
Well, thank you.
No, I'm kidding.
Just take a little Prozac, that's all you really need, all this talk stuff.
The answer is like this. The research shows that 90%, 9 out of 10, of all people who go to therapy have a positive outcome. I personally think it is our God-given responsibility to work on ourselves and fix ourselves. When I went into the field, I went to the Gedolei Yisrael, I wanted to be an Avodas HaKodesh, a Mashgiach, a Rebbe, a Rav. That was my intention. And I had this crazy idea about being a mental health professional. And I was told by Gedolei Yisrael, this is Avodas HaKodesh. I believe going to therapy is Avodas HaKodesh. You're doing holy work to repair yourself, and you owe it to your spouse, you owe it to your children, you certainly owe it to yourself.
Absolutely. Is it possible for my child to not succeed academically and still be happy in school?
Yes, if we give them the proper support, give them lots and lots of activities and ideas, make sure they do not think that their academic outcome is the only way we appreciate and value them, and then we give them lots of support to be exceptional in other areas where we can build their talents in music, build their talents in art, and all sorts of other areas, and let them know that they clearly understand all you have to do is just do your best. I don't care about outcome.
Last question.
Last one.
Because of time.
Okay.
Is there a foolproof way to create happy children?
No. Next. No, there's not. There is a foolproof way to try to create happy children, but happiness, that depends on long-term meaningful relationships. What we want to do is facilitate a model, father and mother as best we can, parents, schools. We want to model healthy relationships, teach our children how to have healthy relationships that are respectful, kind, and loving, and the chances are they will end up as happy people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This is great. This is wonderful.
My pleasure.
Shikoyach.
I don't get the hug? Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Maybe I'll make a therapy appointment. Okay, we're in the tail end here. I'm going to hand the mic to Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum, who will wrap things up and thank a number of people. And I just thank everyone who's here with us personally and everyone here with us online. We are in the final, I don't know what the percentage we're at now. I think Rabbi Rosenblum may know that, and I thank you very much.
So a round of applause for Yaakov Gutterson, Dr. Yaakov Gutterson. What it says is that we're at 579.90, close to 580. That would mean we need around $7,000 more, but we still have 6 more minutes. And the money's coming in. Thank you for listening and contributing. And at this point, I would like to actually thank all those who made tonight's evening possible. It started in the library at the boys' school, 2100 Whiteman Street, a group of 4 or 5 people. And we had a vision and a dream to make what happened tonight actually happen. And we went out and found matchers. That was one of the important things, and I'd like to mention the names of all those matchers. The diamond $50,000 sponsors were Anonymous and the Shimi family. The gold $25,000 was COL, Jennifer Reed, and Zev and Liba Rudolph. The silver were Jewish Healthcare Foundation, and the Rosenthal family, and the Shua and Shoshana Hexter. And the bronze were, are they ahead of me? Yes. The bronze were Alcoa Parking Corp, Anonymous Yeshiva family, a lot of anonymous people here. Next year, please tell us who you are. Burt's Auto Parts, Elegant Edge Catering, Itchy and Shayna Glasner, Highmark Health, Drs. Avrom and Chana Miriam Eubner, Alan Kashi, PJ Dick Trumbull Lindy Group, Frady and David Nadoff, Chaim and Naomi Oster, Musi and Mendel Rosenblum, Lior and Tova Shkedi, Yitzchak and Rachel Shlomo, Robert Levin and Kerry Braun. Let's put our hands together and express our appreciation for their sponsorship for tonight's event. And the team. Standing ovation for the team. What a team. The director of tonight's event, trained in Pittsburgh, an alumni who learned about wellness on Whiteman Street, Chaim Zippel, who flew in this morning from Utah. The production team, Elliot Oshry, Masha Schaller, and Jana Unick. These were the 4 individuals that were there from day one and collaborated, worked tirelessly for months, and they deserve another round of applause. AV and Lighting's Zichron Digital, video production, Postscript Productions, both of those, they worked closely with Masha, and they did a wonderful job. The venue decor, Chaya Cowan, again, she deserves a standing ovation. Craig Elias and Davi Nadoff. The delicious food, the catering, Elegant Edge. Your next simcha, bar mitzvah, wedding, sheva brachas. Call them. They do a wonderful job, and this room is for rent. But you don't get the screen. Screen doesn't come with it. The host and the moderators, Dr. Yaakov Goodison, Rabbi Aaron Herman. The team, call center coordinators, my dear wife, Chani Rosenblum, Razel Seliger, Teresa Fertel, and Dvarlea Davidson. And here goes a special thanks to Rabbi Shimon Russell, Mr. Yocheved Russell, Tali Yes, Rabbi Zevi Greenwald, Rabbi Nassan Hone, Mrs. Amy McCullum, Mrs. Rachel Rabinowitz, Ms. Ella Rittrey, and Mendel Abelsky. Asher koyach to them. Hashem should bless everybody with good health and a wonderful year so that we can come together and do something even bigger and better with not a light schedule, but a heavy schedule. Okay. And now we bring back for the final song or songs, Tali Yes. Let me just see where we're holding. Where we're holding. We are at 582. 1 second. Is that right? 582. 18 divided by 3. 6. Yaakov, thank you. We're going to watch it till after Tali, and please, no one's allowed to leave yet. Not stopping till we hit 6. Yeah, so Tali's going to sing, and I'll get back on right after he sings, and we'll sum things up at that point. Please don't leave. Thank you.
Let's give a huge round of applause to Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum. He pronounced every one of those names on that long list right, which is amazing. Even the silent S, you mastered that one. You know, I had a couple of numbers that we were going to do before, but at this point, I think there's a few numbers that I didn't think about earlier that would be even more appropriate. And seeing is that we're all talking about teachers that go the extra mile and parents that want to see teachers that really level with a kid and cater to their own individual needs. We're going to do a song just about that tonight. Is that okay with you guys? All right. L'chaim. This is an oldie but a goodie. You guys got a job today. Clap, 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 clap. Oh, yeah? When we were young Yeshiva boys way back in '65, we were known throughout the city as the bums from the east side. In school we never studied, all we did was laugh and play. No Rebbe ever lasted long, they all just ran away. Rebbe tried to teach us Torah each and every day. We just closed our eyes and ears to everything he'd say, and all we'd like to do is sit and watch our TV sets. We'd talk about the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets. Well, the principal brought the new Rebbe in the first day of a term, and he said to him, "Show discipline, be strong and tough and firm. Don't think these youngsters run the school," he said with a big frown. "And by the way, for the next few weeks I'm going out of town." Well, this year Rebbe, he was strange, he never lost his cool. Yeah, he kept right on teaching while we broke all the rules. And even though we hadn't learned a single thing all year, it was Pesach time already, and that Rebbe was still here. Rebbe tried to teach us Torah each and every day. We just closed our eyes and ears to everything he'd say, and all we'd like to do is sit and watch our TV sets. We talk about the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets. When Lag BaOmer came around, it was time to play that game against those boys from Brooklyn. How we prayed it shouldn't rain. All 9 of us got on the bus with our gloves and bat. The Rebbe also came along with his jacket, tie, and hat. Right from the start, we all could see that things weren't going right. Some big strong kid for Bensonhurst hit one out of sight. And just as things were looking up and the tide about to turn, our catcher went and broke his leg while sliding in a third. It's a forfeit, cry the other team, you only got 8 guys. No, we don't, a deep voice said, much to our surprise. And since I am their Rebbe, what a fair thing it would seem is let me be the 9th man. The 9th man on the team. Now the Rebbe went and picked up the bat and faced the pitcher with a smile. Knocked the cover off that ball, went about half a mile. He flew around the bases and he scored the winning run. We danced and cheered until he said, "Now boys, you owe me one." Now the next day in the classroom, no one moved and no one stirred. The Rebbe started teaching, and his voice, it could be heard. We all said, "Hey, it's interesting. The man, he is no bore. The legendary East Side Bums were gone forevermore." Rebbe used to teach us Torah each and every day. We opened up our eyes and ears to everything he'd say. And no more did we sit all day and watch our TV sets on. We talked about Rashi and the Tosafos and the Mets. Thank you, thank you.
Just hit $600,000.
Woo! All right, all right. Are you joking or for real?
Tali, you did it.
All right, guys, I said I'm out of here. No, I'm joking.
Before we get
all right, keep it going on that
two more last songs. We'd like to also thank Dovi Abraham, Chami Sachs, Avishag Levin, Shayna Glasner, and Elleron Shkedi, who helped and contributed to making tonight's night the success it was.
All right. Okay. All right, so I hear that we have the pleasure of doing a duet with the great Rabbi Yossi Rosenblum tonight, who I had a pleasure of doing a duet with him at his house on Hanukkah when I came here about, what was it, a month ago? So earlier in the month, I think. So it was such a hit that they had us come back and do it again. So I just don't know what song we're going to be doing tonight. So we're going to have to pick one out of the hat. You know. Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to have to do that one. I'm going to do that one. We had a special request for that one. I think I might. Eloseinu, Dalim Vereikim. Again.
Lemancho Elokeinu, Aseh Veloy Lanu, Rei Amida Seinu, Dalim Vereikim. Neshama lavi hadupala usa alamala haneshama lavi haneshama lavi hadupala usa Elokeinu, Aseh Veloy Lanu, Amida Seinu, Dalim Vereikim, Lemancho Elokeinu, Aseh Veloy Lanu, Seinu, Dalim Vereikim, Haneshama Lach V'yadu Ba'alach Usa Alam Alach Haneshama Lach Haneshama
Give it up for Rabbi Rosenblum, ladies and gentlemen. You just stole my show. That was great. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a huge honor. I had a request to do a very special song tonight. And seeing as we're, for the sake of furthering Jewish education in the most profound way tonight, by raising dollar bills, we're going to do a song for a very special lady who had a request tonight of doing a song called Dollar Bill. One day a dollar bill was floating through the air. It flew into a synagogue and no one else was there. It landed on the bima and it tried to go to sleep. But from the Aron Kodesh, a voice began to speak. Who is in my synagogue? The dollar bill said I come here from America. There's nothing I can't buy. That's why people worship me. Now tell me, who are you? My name is a Torah, and everything I say is true. Tell me, Torah, why do you speak so sad? You live in this nice synagogue, I think you should be glad. I've always lived with Israel, the Torah did reply. My people do not listen, and I just wonder why. And the dollar bill went laughing as he flew in through the air. He flew into the street and some people gathered there. Everyone was jumping up to get it in their hand. Everyone was jumping up in the promised land. And somewhere in a synagogue, very late at night, there burns an olive oil lamp. It's the eternal light. And from the Aron Kodesh, a cry is heard once more. And if you look real close, you can see the teardrops on the floor. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. This next song goes out to my mother, who was an educator par excellence. When she passed away about 4 years ago, she taught in the base certificate for about 30 years. And how it worked in Montreal, where we grew up, is that if your name isn't on the school, somewhere in the building on a wall, there's a very slim chance that when you leave this earth and go back to your Creator, that anyone's coming out to pray for you. With the exception of my mother, when her, I guess the hearse, whatever you call it, pulled up in front of the school, 500 students came out, and staff, many of which studied under her. And many people don't understand that a real teacher is somebody that really wants to get to know the student and cater to whatever need they have. My mother used to send pictures to every parent after the end of the day of what their student did that day. And many parents that were too busy to even be in their own kids' lives, this is the only connection they had to their kid. And all that happened after 5 o'clock, in addition to lesson plans and everything. So this next song was a song that I wrote for her after she passed. And it helped me get through a lot of difficulties and traumas that I had about losing a parent. And this next song is called Goodbye. So if it's okay with you guys, I'll try to end off tonight with a song which is kind of appropriate because we're also saying goodbye at this point. Not in this way, but now I guess the time has come to say goodbye. You can finally spread your wings and take to the sky. Your special spirit whose journey has begun, just a heartbeat ago. There's just so many questions about you and things I wish I'd known. Come along and we'll remember the times we had and the things we shared. I'll write a song to stay strong and some rhymes to recall just how much you care. 'Cause when I'm pushed to the ground, I'll remember the sound of you pushing through. Then I'll get up and I'll brush off the dust and say I could do it too. Think of me when you see me stare at a picture of you. The way you smile, your laugh, and the care you gave me when I was feeling blue. I'll say a prayer and I'll swear to dare to dream the way you taught me to. And if you're there, you'll hear and you'll know I'll be thinking of you. Come along and we'll remember the times we had and the things we shared. I'll write a song to stay strong and some rhymes to recall just how much you cared. So when I'm pushed to the ground, I'll remember the sound of you pushing through. Then I'll get up and I'll brush off the dust and say I can do it too. Then I'll get up and I'll brush off the dust and say I can do it too. All right. Well, psych, that's not the last song for tonight. We're going to do another one for you guys. This is something that we're really all looking forward to, and it'll solve all our problems. This next song is about what we're all really doing all this for. Aside for just education. You know, Chabad and Lubavitch in general has always been about getting the world ready for what's about to be. And one of the foundational teachings of our faith from Maimonides is always about believing in the coming of Mashiach each and every day. Even when times are tough and even when things seem really bleak and hard, it's one of those 13 principles of faith that keep us going. This next song is going to be maybe a medley of a couple of these, but we'll start with this one. You know, you know, you know, you know, no, no, no. You know, you know, you know, no, 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 no. You know, you know, you know, you know, no, no, no. Oh, yo, 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 oh, yo, 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 oh, yo, 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 oh, yo, yo, you know, no, you know, you know, oh, yo, 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 no, 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 no. Ani, mami, be'emuno shleimo, b'vias HaMoshiach, ani mami. Oy, 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 ve'afal pi, oy, 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 she'yismameya. All together now. Ani ma'amin be'emuno shleimo b'vias HaMoshiach ani ma'amin. Oy, 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 ve'afal pi, oy, 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 she'yismameya, im kol ze yachakelo. Oy, 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 im kol ze yachakelo, im kol ze yachakelo. יחכה אלוהים בכל יום שיבוא, שיבוא. עם כל זה יחכה אלוהים, עם כל זה יחכה אלוהים, אוי יחכה אלוהים בכל יום שיבוא. המשיח אני מאמין בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח אני מאמין. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. It's one of those heartfelt cries that we have. At the end of the day, we work very hard every day, and for what? At the end of the day, Hashem's got to pay us at this point, you know? We're working. The Rebbe did all the work he can and still is, and everybody's doing everything they can. But when it comes down to it, what it's all about at the end is that we got to be the Jewish people once again. We got to be a united people. We got to be back in Eretz Yisrael. We got to be with the Beis HaMikdash. We got to be with our long-lost relatives and ancestors once again. So we pray once again that may it be speedily in our days, and may the redemption come in its completion without any hesitation whatsoever. And the Rebbe said that in order to hasten the redemption, we need to increase in acts of goodness and kindness. And one of those things you can do is tzedakah, investing in education, investing in chinuch, investing in our children. And we merit to see all that happened very quickly. Thank you once again for having me out here. Thank you. And a big thank you to Rabbi Rosenblum as well for the lovely song we just did. Thank you.